Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens.
It's TikTok. It's
TikTok. Let's
We
talk
talk
some tech.
about tech.
Tech. Yeah, tech. Let's see. Okay, I'm just making sure I got all my little windows open. Okay, so I got chat open. Looks like I can see Jim the Evo and MD Hofsty hanging out. They're our regulars. They're always in here before everybody else.
Oh yeah, even on my own streams.
Yeah, no, isn't that cool?
He lurks hardcore parkour.
He does. He's our lurking guy. No, I love that. I love that when you have like the regulars that just you come in. It's like the stream isn't even going yet, and they're already like in chat, got their bucket of popcorn. Yeah. Like they're ready to go. All right, let me see. Good. I lost my dashboard for YouTube. It's under one of these tabs. Oh, the plight of only having 2 screens instead of 4 running.
Shouldn't you have 3?
I should. They're not plugged in though. I got like 2 here. I know. Still, after all this time, right?
You even have a tiny person in your home to help you to
I know.
Like, get back there and plug that shit in.
I should just send them under the desk and be like, "Don't you come out of there
until everything is plugged in. You don't get any food until or whatever. I don't know what his currency is, but
actually, it's Hot Wheels and VR.
Yeah, no more Hot Wheel VR.
Yeah, my kid is those are the only 2 things that matter in his entire life. If you take either one of those things away, it's life threatening.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, honey. Oh, wow, you brought me the American combo.
You want all 3 of them, or do you want to pick one?
I want all 3 of them.
I want all 3 of them.
I got red.
I have one.
Red, white, and blue. I got the flag. Just ignore all those.
Very patriotic.
Do you want burritos?
Or
I want burritos. I want burritos.
You wish you had burritos. No, we got food coming because after the stream today, I am having a hot tub delivered.
Birthdays. Oh,
finally, after all this time, the hot tub,
real hot tub,
a real hot tub. Like we're talking like Pinocchio real boy shit here. It is a real hot tub. It is a 4-seater.
What do you mean no sound?
Wait, what? Do we not have sound?
Somebody said no sound.
Well, we definitely have sound. I'm looking at the UV meter right now. So
toast.
Manost. All right.
Yeah, no, it's him.
Yeah. Okay, hold on. I
hear it too.
I got some windows. I got windows from different area codes. Okay, where is my super chat dashboard? Excuse me. All right, I think I found it. Did I find it? Oh. I did. I now have a viewer activity dashboard. we got Ikaji, thank you for the £5. Said I'll watch later as I can't currently watch live. Hope you're all well. Well, I'm doing all right today. How about yourself, Ox?
Oh, good actually.
You I thought
I would be a lot more sleepy because like I went to bed pretty late.
I did too. I went to bed at like 3 a.m. and woke up at like 8.
Jesus, not that late. Man, I was like maybe 1:32 or so.
It's okay though. I woke up and I took methamphetamine, so now I'm like good to go. Little. Oh, did you take it? The Adderall?
Yeah.
Adderall. Yeah. And then stack a little coffee on top of it, like have a little mocha to kick it. Yeah. We do not promote drug use here unless your name's on the bottle, in which case then we do because your doctor told you to. It's not drug abuse if your name's on the bottle, right?
That's right.
Right.
So like we're both right. We both got the Adderall. It's such a controlled. I imagine it's much like your pain meds too, where like you cannot like they won't. It like I feel bad calling her shrink. Like that's mean, I think. But my brain doctor was like, no, it's like super illegal. I cannot send this as like a refill.
Yep.
It's like we'll both get in trouble. But she's like, what they can do though is like I can send in like separate scripts all at once, but they won't like the pharmacy knows not to like unlock it until a certain date.
Yep.
Yeah. And so that's how they do it. They'll send in like two months worth, but I can only get one at a time. And like, I can't refill because it's not really a refill. And they're like, she's like, don't go in there and ask for a refill. They get bent about that. Like you have a new script on this day and you go.
Yeah. They're super hardcore about it, dude. Like
I was in a day early and they're like, nope, you have to come back tomorrow. We can't fill this right now.
Yeah, no, I have to sign. So I have 2 doctors, right? One prescribes my Adderall, the other one prescribes the pain medication. And in order to do that here in Washington, you have to have a separate contract with each doctor saying that 1, can't prescribe the other, even though they technically both can. Like the pain doctor can prescribe Adderall, my physician can prescribe opiates.
Yeah, they have the ability,
but they basically have to sign a contract making sure that there's no overlap and there's no possibility of like both of them prescribing the same drug.
Yeah, like at the same time.
Yeah, it's like it's wild. Yeah. And then they keep them on file like at the pharmacy, just like you do. I get like they do 2 months at a time, so I don't have to come in every single month just to
which is super nice.
Script. And then you take them down the pharmacy. The pharmacy like knows exactly like to the day. They won't waver on it. If the doctor wants to move up the prescription, they basically have to cancel it and like resubmit it into the system. It's pretty super tightly strict. Controlled, and like rightfully so too. I mean, it's like it is these are drugs that are like heavily abused and stuff. So it's like I am glad that they're like going out of their way to make it like, you know, somewhat difficult, but it also kind of scares me every once in a while because sometimes this stuff creeps up on you and you're like, well, I'm out of medication. And then they're like, oh, technicality. Oh, your doctor's out on golfing or doing something on vacation this week. And he's the only one that can prescribe it. And so there's all kinds of weird situations you can get in where it's just, there's no way you can get it. So you pretty much just have to expect that every once in a while, you're going to have to withdraw off.
A few days. Yeah.
Yep. It's just part of the game, unfortunately, but hey, get you up, get you moving. And makes it so I can focus on anything for more than 10 seconds. So it's a wonderful thing.
It is
so
indeed.
Let's say we got 94 concurrent viewers. Looks like people are slowly washing in. I think I'm going to go ahead and take the initiative to go out to the old Twitter skis and let people know what's going on here. I linked it in Skype, so you have the link.
Yep.
So let's go dump that on the socials. And you guys in chat there, yes, we see you. Go word of mouth is like the only way we get advertised around because of all the things we say that mess with the algorithm in a bad way. They don't like it when we put like OnlyFans on the topic and stuff. Did we put something different? Oh no, you did. Okay, whatever. Yeah, I know, but it's just like everything on YouTube now, like the algorithm is like it's gamed now. It's all gamed, the whole thing across the board.
Maybe I need to talk to Kevlar about this, but what sort of infrastructure, what sort of like how hard would it be to spin up a small, like at first, obviously, because data and whatever. What really, like what kind of infrastructure really would it take to have like a competitor to Twitch? YouTube, I think, is out of the question because like that's just insane.
Well, here's the problem: is Twitch is like owned by Amazon now, so they have infinite revenue.
No, I understand, but like the original, like Justin TV or whatever, or like the next evolution, when they first moved over to Twitch, when they were really starting to kind of grow on their own. Like, what do you think kind of infrastructure it takes to do that? Like,
well, the problem is
can we just rent some AWS services and shit and just like
you could
piggyback on Amazon anyway, you know?
You could, but the problem is like the amount of startup capital that you'd need would be amazingly high. Like, just think about it. You need, I mean, if you started super small, probably not
about about $1 million. That's not bad. That's chump change for tech shit.
But here's the thing though, is like so you create the infrastructure, you have to program like the front end and everything for being able to upload and distribute the videos. You have to create the search engine or just piggyback off of Google, use like one of the existing search engine APIs. And once you get that all in place, the most expensive thing that you're going to run into is storage followed by bandwidth. And that's going to go up really fast, especially if people like start, if they can post for free on your platform, it's going to eat you alive really, really quick. And that's the reason why you don't see too much competition to sites like YouTube and Twitch and everything. It's just because the astronomical amount of storage you need and thereby the rack space that you need in like a server just exponentially grows, right?
I just wonder like how, like we were a couple episodes back, we were talking about we had bumped into, I think it was like a Bitcoin backed sort of streaming service. There was some NSFW stuff going on Odyssey and whatnot.
Now. Yep.
Like how did they get going? Like they must be small time ish, but like.
Well, they solved the two problems I just told you about.
Yeah.
they make their customers store the videos, and they make their customers technically not actually. Library kind of lied about that a little bit. Like if you go and do some research, they are fairly centralized, and even though they use a blockchain, they are using their own storage to like store the content. So it's not as decentralized as they'd like you to believe.
Sure.
But the monetary component of it and the token that you use for like tipping and escalating things in the search engine, that's all distributed. So it's kind of like this half and half thing. But if you can create a system like they did, where it's like the storage and the bandwidth is distributed equally among your user base, then you don't incur that penalty, right? You're not having to pay those costs. So I could see something like that being competitive to YouTube. But then you run into the problem that anytime you're relying on people's internet connections and people, it's going to be really spotty, right? It's going to be hit and miss, and people will get really frustrated when shit's buffering all the time and not loading. As a matter of fact, that's what almost killed Library. LBRY had massive buffering problems in the beginning where it's like you could not watch a video no matter how much bandwidth you had without it cutting out and buffering. And they've since fixed the problem. And then as soon as they fixed the problem, it went through the roof. Like, I mean, it went up by several times its original cost for the coin.
A torrent-based video service also exists. I guess it's just like getting the name recognition. You got to get somebody, because like, man, I was this close to flip into Mixer before Microsoft bailed out, and I'm so pissed. Like, I don't understand where that decision came from, because the only other like options other than Twitch are Facebook or YouTube, and both of them are trash for analytics, for like just everything. It doesn't make sense. Both of them should have spun the live streaming stuff off into its own. Like, I understand the connection to your main YouTube page or your main Facebook page, but it should be a separate entity. In that I should go to facebooklive.com, and that is its own landing page, that's its own front page with its own dashboard, with its own, and again, you could tie it into your Facebook, sure, but it should have its own tools separate from, or better. Man, I could go on and on about the trash Facebook like back end for everything. Like, their analytics are garbage.
Well, Facebook is pretty much proof that you can have the shittiest service on earth, like absolute shittiest service on earth that does the most unethical things and kicks everybody in the nuts. But as long as everybody is there before they're found out, everybody just puts up with it and stays.
Yeah.
That's the weird thing about this. Everybody says, "Oh, I won't support a company that's like evil." And it's like everybody's like supporting the company that's evil because it's like, "Oh, well, my friends are there," you know?
Yeah,
well,
everybody's
are.
evil.
Well, yeah, I actually talked about this at great length on my Twitch stream yesterday, and we were basically talking about like the relationship between morality and profitability. You know, it's like you have far fewer options to become like hyper wealthy or whatever if you're too moral. If you're too moral of a person. So you end up in this weird situation where it's like the least moral companies gain the fastest ground, and then your only choice is either fail or become immoral yourself or less moral yourself to keep up. And it's basically just setting like this really bad, precedent for everybody to go chase after this shit. And social media is like front and center on that, right? It's like if you look at social media, which sites are the most popular, right? When you look at it, which are most popular, and what are the things that they do that are like least desirable that people are going to be angry about, right? At the very top, right? You got Facebook. What does Facebook do? Just spam all kinds of ads at you. They run scams all the time. They allow content theft. If you have a channel with 10 million followers, you can steal anybody's videos and just post like freaking blockbuster movies and stuff. They don't care unless a legal team forces their hand. They just leave it alone.
Like, it's like at some point you get so big that it's so weird because it's like it's almost hypocritical. Like especially now. Well, actually, this could actually segue straight into one of our topics, but it's like you get super big, and now you have to like start wearing the suit and tie. Like it's all fun and games when you're like the scrappy, independent, like, oh, we're gonna disrupt the status quo, and we're plucky, and like, haha, we're coming out of nowhere, and then you get to a certain point and it's like, well, shit, I need Disney's ad revenue.
Exactly.
So I can't keep doing, smoking blunts and like punching hoes like I used to or whatever. And which is shitty because what bothers me is that there is a market there. Like there's still clearly there is a market for, like, let's say unsavory content, I guess. Like that kind of puts a weird
huge market for it.
And I'm not talking about like really, really weird shit. Like I'm not talking snuff films and like
no, but as disgusting as it is, there is a market for that too. I mean, freaking the dark web,
and
right?
That's weird. That's like that goes too far. But like there's I don't know, it's a weird gray area that I find myself like morally when it comes to some of this stuff. like I don't know. I don't know. It's just
the problem
it's really
is
weird.
So YouTube is basically creating like minting shitty people. Let me explain, because we talked about this for so long yesterday, and it started we started getting some clarity on this. So I watched a video by was it Tom Scott? I think it was it Tom Scott that did the video where he's basically like clickbait matters, like clickbait is successful. Everybody says they hate clickbait, yet everybody keeps clicking on the stuff, thereby feeding the clickbait, right?
Oh yeah.
So what you have is you have a situation where YouTube is basically encouraging content creators to be as dishonest and as clickbaity as possible, because they are the ones that get rewarded for it.
Right.
And so you end up in this pool where it's like the people, like one of the examples he gave is he created a video. Was it Veritasium that did this? Oh, Tom Scott did another one. So both of them have a video right now. So basically, he created a video of like an asteroid's going to hit Earth or something like that, and he titled the video something like, this asteroid could change everything or something like that. And it was just a picture of an asteroid, and it didn't get very good viewership. Like, it didn't take off. But then he went back and clickbaitified it, where like weeks later, after it already lost all its momentum, and he put like a picture of like an asteroid getting progressively bigger and like it's about to impact the planet Earth. And it's like, this is the asteroid we have to worry about, world ending, exclamation point. And his views went through the roof and ended up getting like, I think 12 or 18 million views over the course of the video. And he's like, I didn't change the content of the video. I didn't change the length. I didn't edit it. I didn't change the description. I didn't change the tags. All I did was a new thumbnail and a new title. And just that alone caused it to blow up and go through the roof. And it's true, because you see this now. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but when you're on YouTube, you'll come back every day and you'll see the same video with like 10 different thumbnails over the course of a month.
Yeah.
And different titles. Like, creators are doing that now. They're paying people to just continuously roll it so that you'll see it. And hopefully they'll eventually hit on one that triggers you to click on it.
Right. And I've seen that from some of the tech tubers and stuff that I follow on Twitter. It's like to show that exact, well, not to the extent of like clickbait necessarily, but like where like they'll wait a couple weeks or a month and then change the thumbnail and title, and then like it gets a bigger boost than like the original, when it first released, kind of thing.
Oh, somebody said, okay, I didn't see a Tom Scott video. What is the guy's?
Oh, they're saying Veritasium.
I know Veritasium did one, but the one that I just watched yesterday was actually, I thought it was Tom Scott. Let me see here. I'm kind of curious now. So Tom Scott clickbait. Oh, nope. They got me. No, it was Veritasium. Never mind.
Okay.
I don't know why I got it mixed up. But yeah, Veritasium did a video. It's called Clickbait is Unreasonably Effective. And so he goes through and he talks about how, and he talks to Mr. Beast too. He actually interviews Mr. Beast. And Mr. Beast is like, no, clickbait is like the most important thing ever, because if you can't get somebody to click on the video, they obviously can't watch it. So Mr. Beast is historically very clickbaity. And also when I'm saying clickbait, like there's different levels. He also talks about this. There's different levels of clickbait, right? There's clickbait where you're just putting some boobs in the thumbnail and saying, oh my God, you won't believe, what happened to this woman or something like that. And then the video has you don't see her. She's not in the video, or it's completely out of, it doesn't exist, right? It's just to get you to click. That's like bad clickbait. That's banned clickbait. But the clickbait that's allowed on YouTube would be like taking a video that's like 30 minutes long, and a woman passes by wearing a bathing suit on the beach. And even though it's not the context of the video, you take that as the thumbnail and you put it there. And then under the title be like, you won't believe what we walked by on this beach, when the whole video is about like building a car.
Yeah.
But it's technically not clickbait because it's in the video. Like that frame is in the video, and it's in the context of like, oh, you won't believe what walked by. Well, okay, maybe you won't, right? Like, I can't tell you what you're going to believe and what you're not going to believe. So there's that clickbait. But the problem is, if you do it wrong, you get a lot of downvotes. But the problem with YouTube is downvotes get treated a lot like upvotes. It's all engagement. So if you get a lot of downvotes mixed with a lot of upvotes, it's better than not getting any downvotes at all.
Yeah, it's like, well, and I think a bigger part of, at least for YouTube, it's not the thumbs up, thumbs down. It's watch time.
Yeah.
That's the biggest weighted metric is it doesn't matter if you watched more than 3 minutes of it, that's a good thing.
So like one thing that people are doing now, like, and you see these trends, they like blanket out across everybody. So I think that there's like some tutorials or something somewhere that are kicking these things off, or maybe just everybody sees how successful it is and they follow suit.
Yeah.
But I've been seeing this trend now where it's like you start a video and people will show like one of the most climactic, like part of the most climactic part of the video right in the beginning. Like even before they even roll the intro, it'll like start the video and it'll be like, oh my God, it's coming right at me. And then they cut off and then it's like, oh, welcome to today's episode. We're going to do this. And then they purposefully take something towards the end of the video. And then they'll say a couple of times at the beginning of the video, make sure you watch to the end if you want to see what happened. Don't skip because there's important information. In the middle of the video, and they basically like sit there and like create a narrative for you that's like, oh my God, if I just fast forward, I'm not going to have the whole picture. Or if I try to go find it at the end and seek around, I'm just going to rack up watch time, right? So and views. So there's like all this bait, basically, not just clickbait, but just bait in general.
Yeah.
To try to get you to watch the content. But the problem is so many, because that algorithm is so critical to make or break on YouTube now, and not subscribers. Like subscribers don't matter anymore. Like YouTube's completely shifted the algorithm. It doesn't matter if you have 10 million subscribers, it makes no difference. It's like the viewership and the promotion of your video is based on that initial engagement. And a lot of people create that off platform, like Mr. Beast and stuff like that, just through social media. And people just becoming accustomed to videos showing up every day, right? So they'll go and check. They don't like half my subscribers don't see anything I post. Like half people don't even know we do Tech Talk. Even after we've been doing Tech Talk for a year and a half, I still get dozens of people that message
just
me
today
going, "Hey, when are you coming back?" And I'm like, "I do Tech Talk." No, I've never gotten a notification for that.
Just at the beginning of this very stream, where was it? Send help. Just realized you're into live streams. Very pog. Like,
you
haven't noticed the Twitch one either. Like, no, I don't mean to pick on. If you're still in the chat, I don't mean to pick on you in particular, but it's just as an example that like we've been doing this. This is like our 90th episode or something. We've done this for like almost 2 years, and have missed like maybe a week's worth, like maybe seven, like Saturdays.
But people don't get notified. They just don't get notified by the system because we don't hit those high enough initial numbers, right? If we did the clickbait, like for instance, and maybe I'll do this just for fun. Is go back to all the live streams we've already done that are archived and just go back and do custom thumbnails for each of them.
Yeah.
That are, a fabricated picture that's in context of what we're talking about, like Elon Musk with like, red eyes and laser beams coming out of it and be like, today we talk, oh my God, we all almost died. You have no idea how close we came to dying. And I bet you after a week, I'm going to see the analytics go from dead to start climbing again. Like or even just doing a subset and like edit them down, like we were talking about, to just like, the most critical moments, 10 minutes, crazy click worthy thumbnail. There's all kinds of things you can do to manipulate the system. But the thing is, I don't like manipulating the system. But at the same time, it's like the system is designed to be manipulated. So it's like, what do you do?
It's like avoiding taxes.
It is.
It's not illegal. You're playing the game by the rules.
That is true.
Other people might think it's like unfair, but bro, you can play the game by the same. You got the same rules. You're just choosing not to take advantage of the rules. Like,
nobody said the rules are fair. The rules aren't fair, but they are available.
The thing is, like, people think, and down the taxes thing, and I'm sure Kevlar might correct me if I'm wrong because he would know all about that. Is like it doesn't take a whole lot to get some of the benefits that like super rich people are taking advantage of too. It's just like the initial setup is kind of a pain.
Well, the problem is it's the old mantra of it takes money to make money. And the thing is, in order for you to take advantage of a lot of those tax loopholes and stuff like that, you have to be in a position where you have the ability to take advantage of them, right? You have to have the right amount of money in the right place, or you have to be able to afford the lawyers and the right people to like file it in the right way. So it's basically like you do have to hit a tipping point where it's like you have enough money to take advantage of all those things. Otherwise, they do you no good. Like, for instance, I'm not going to take advantage of the tax break on buying like, a G9, Learjet or whatever. Right. I'm not going to be able to take advantage of like that, the $10 million in taxes or whatever that I don't have to pay on it because I can't buy one. Right. Just like, but if you're an incredibly wealthy person, it's like you can go and buy the jet right off the taxes, use it as a business expense, lease it back to your family members, lease it back to your own business, claim that it's a corporate jet, use it for personal, and you go through all these things. And then like by the time you're done, it's like you basically got the jet for like the cost of a really nice sports car, in the grand scheme of things, and then sell it off at the end, even at a profit,
Yeah. I've seen the reason, like you'll see, how come a lot of these like businessmen or whatever, these businesses or whatever will like have these big G-Wagons, right? And it's like, because they take advantage of some rule 168 or something like that, where if a vehicle weighs over 6,000 pounds, It's like classified differently as far as like corporate taxes are concerned, and you can like legit write off the entire amount of the vehicle. Yeah, Kevlar says it's a truck at that point, like, and it's like a commercial vehicle.
Yeah,
and yeah, now you've basically paid like sales tax for it, and that's it.
I watched a YouTube video of this guy. He's into aviation, and he goes to this Oshkosh air show every year, and he has like a really cool collection of like all these planes and jets and everything like that. And they're like, man, you must be like super rich to have all this stuff or whatever. And he's like, no, I'm just super smart. And they're like, what do you mean? And he's like, oh, well, see, what I did is I started off with my first jet that I leased with a partner, and we got this and we created a charter system or whatever for it. But then we got paid a bunch from the government, subsidized for being a charter, even though we didn't take that many trips with it with people. Then we used it for personal use. Then at the end, we were able to sell it off, but we were able to write off all the losses for the maintenance and everything. Long story short, they held the jet, operated it for a year, sold it, ended up with more money than when they bought the jet originally. They never bought it. They leased it basically. So they paid the money back. Right. They went and got the next one, and then they positioned themselves with that one to make even more money so that they could get the second one. And then next thing you know, they're up to a fleet of like 5 or 6, and they're just aviation enthusiasts. So these are guys that just pump all their money into aviation, right? So they're not living in like super lavish houses or driving around in Bugatti Veyrons. They care about the jets. Like the jets are what they want. So they've like figured out the system where they can do it. But now they're to the point where they can just write everything off. Like everything they buy, if they go and lease a jet or whatever, that's like $39 million or whatever, they work all the numbers and how they charter it, and then they sublease it. So like basically they'll have it when they want it, like a timeshare, but then they let other people use it when they're not. Like they'll lease it to these businesses, and then the businesses will pay more for it than what they would lease normally because the terms are different and they're more less restrictive. So basically what they end up doing, long story short, they said that they don't pay for their fleet. Like they figured out how to get it to the point where it's just self-sustaining, where they can just enjoy the jets, take them out and fly them when they want to. There's always one available if the other 4 are being leased. But basically, they have a free fleet of jets that are all just sitting there insured, and it's like the self-sustaining hobby. And I was like, because you can't fly, awesome. You're not going to fly them all at once, right? I mean, so there's no reason. So then I was like, man, I wonder how many people are doing with this cars. How many people are doing this with cars? DDE, Daily Driven Exotics in Canada. I thought, oh my God, they own like 11, 12, 13 of these super hyper cars. They own like 2 of them.
Yeah.
Like
why not?
It's all leased. Yeah.
And why not? Like for a couple $100, you could rent a Ferrari for a day. And that if that YouTube video makes more than what you rented the Lamborghini for, that you're winning. Like, why not?
As a matter of fact, that's one of the
why not?
Was it which channel? There's one channel I watched where a guy built his entire channel on renting hypercars off of Turo.
Why not?
So he'd literally go and rent
like
cars.
An hour.
He'd rent them for like an hour, 2 hours or whatever, take them out, shoot a video on it, publish the video get 150,000 views. And that would generate, 6 or 7 times what he paid for the car in revenue. And then he'd take that money, go back and rent another car the next day and another car the next day. And then he eventually got to the point where he had so much damn money that then he could lease the cars himself if it was a car that, but he didn't really need any cars for long periods of time. Cause once you review them, you just want to move on.
Yeah.
Like you want that diversity, right? Which is more important, having a collection of 12 cars that you just circulate and talk about all the time, or having a new car like every day?
Oh, that's it.
But the thing is, they don't disclose that in the videos because obviously they don't want everybody going and replicating what they figured out.
It's the same kind of bullshit you see on Instagram where like, the guys like whatever, they'll just rent it for a music video essentially.
And Nomadic even said down here, DDE registers all their cars to their company, and that's true. So they lease them, they register them to the company, so they get tons of tax breaks and everything. They can't put too much mileage on them, like there's mileage restrictions. They talked about that in an episode.
Leases,
but they have like 12 cars, and they trade them out all the time, so none of them are getting crazy miles on them anyways, right? And the other thing too is with vehicles, and it's the same thing with real estate now. Cars are considered something that depreciates until you get over a certain point. Once you get over a certain point where it's limited and it's unique, it only goes up in value. So you have people like Shmi 150 or whatever, on the other side of the pond that have like these amazing collections of cars. But what a lot of people don't realize, he doesn't buy them outright cash. He actually goes and gets like a company that he leases it through, but then his lease payments aren't as much because he's maintaining the car. He's doing he does a bunch of stuff that basically makes it so the company will lease it to him cheaper. And they basically consider him like a garage. As long as you don't put too many miles on the car, you're basically just the caretaker of the car for the next couple of years. That's why he doesn't put, huge amounts of miles on any of his vehicles. Actually, his cheapest vehicle is the one he hammers the most, right? Is Ford that he bought outright. But all these cars, like he he has restrictions on how he can drive them, but he doesn't talk about that necessarily in every video because that would be a buzzkill. And people like, wow, this guy, I want to be like him and he can drive these cars. What you don't realize is all these guys, when they sit down and they're actually like straight up with you, they're like, listen, we can't drive these whenever we want. We can't take them wherever we want. Some of them we can't even ever take on a track because of the way the lease agreement works. Some of them we can only put 1,000 miles on a year. But the thing is, if they follow all those rules, it's a hugely profitable business because every car they lease, they end up selling for way more than what the lease was. And then they have the option to either buy the car out, which they've done sometimes where they're like, they'll lease, say, a Bugatti or something, right? It'll go up by $400,000 in like 6 months or a year, right? Because the car market's so hot. It's such a limited commodity. Then they sell it off for that, but they only were into the lease like $90,000. So they pocket the 300 and some odd thousand extra dollars and basically go and get another car and rinse and repeat. And they can keep getting more and more expensive and more exclusive cars. Yeah. However, it is really difficult with some of these like really limited edition cars to lease one, right? You have to buy them outright, like some of the Ferraris and stuff like that. So the way that they work around that system is they basically build up a huge audience on the internet where people absolutely love the channels. And then they'll build up relationships with the dealers themselves. And then the dealers will be listen, we normally don't lease a car, but what we're going to do is we're going to let you lease this car. And then you're going to put it in your videos. And if somebody sees it, they're going to call us and want to buy it. And then they can buy that car.
Affiliate status.
Yeah, exactly. Right? It's like if you're literally driving around your affiliate. Yeah.
Just mention, hey, thanks to Tim's Auto Shop for letting me borrow this Lambo today. And we're going to cruise around. Yeah. And that's legit. All it would take is just like a little mention like that. And now they're probably,
And the larger that you get from creating the smaller videos and building up to it, the more people that are willing to work with you, right?
Yep.
So that you have access to more and more stuff. So it's like it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? There is some risk involved. You got to start off and do some things. And like, obviously, if you started doing this and you started like wrecking cars and stuff like that, obviously people aren't going to be leasing them to you, or you're not going to be able to afford the insurance on them. So there are some gotchas, obviously. Yeah. But if you do it right, it's like, it's a self-building business. It's like I was telling a bunch of people the other day that's like, you notice how there's like this huge influx of popular videos on YouTube of people getting pulled over by cops?
Yeah. Oh,
like,
yeah.
It's huge. Like you go,
yeah.
So you go to YouTube and it's like every single video is like, I got pulled over by cop, or tyrant cop writes supercar owner ticket. And it's like, I scroll through and I see more of these than almost any other video when I'm looking at the auto genre. And the reason being is because people like that drama. They like conflict, right?
Yeah.
So these guys will go out in their supercars, do a burnout in front of a cop, like on purpose. The cop will come over to the window. Not always. There's a lot of times they catch the cops doing bad shit, but they'll walk up the window and be like, okay, I'm going to give you a ticket. And they're like, oh, what are you giving me a ticket for, officer? And they'll give them like a hard time and get their badge number and everything like that. And they're doing it because they want that thumbnail, right?
Yep.
And sometimes they'll even get out of the car, like after they're done pillow, they'll get out of the car and like take a picture of the police car behind them before it takes off so they can get that sweet thumbnail. And then you look at their top 10 like most viewed videos, and no shit, like all of them are the cop being pulled over by cops, even though their channel is more about supercar ownership. But because those get the most views, now they're actually like seeking it. Like these guys are out there, like when they get like when the cops turn on the lights behind me, I'm like, oh shit. Like I get worried. When the cops turn their lights on behind these guys, they smile and they're like, man, cha-ching. This is like the next echelon. This is going to take us to the next level. And so, and once you have the money where you get to that point, it's like I was telling people, it's like because tickets are fixed prices and it doesn't matter how much you have. It's like if you're making, 10 or 20 or $30,000 a video of these vlogs driving around supercars, and you make twice or three times that when you get pulled over, and the ticket's only $150, even if it makes your insurance go through the roof, it doesn't matter because you're making so much damn money that every time you get pulled over, it's like the cop might as well be bringing a bag of cash and handing it to you. And how screwed up is that though? Like, when you think about it, it's like we are literally programming society at this point. We are showing kids that you will make more money and you will be more just like the Logan Pauls and the Jake Pauls of the world. You will be more famous and you will get more money the more of an obnoxious shit you are that causes problems that other people don't want to do because it would be uncomfortable. It's like if you're willing to break those boundaries, you will make a lot more money than the person who is not willing to break those boundaries.
That's true. And I do think though that it's more of a continuation of I mean, people have always wanted sensationalism. It's not like that's like the think about like the first
man.
Well, think about like the first time that they did like a live police chase on the news.
Yeah, right.
Like, the first time that they were able to do that, and people were riveted to the screen. Like, you know it. Like, I think they kind of joked about that in the second Anchorman movie. I think.
They did. Yep.
And that's kind of what popped into my head. But there's a nugget of truth there, is like that's how we ended up with a 24-hour news cycle, is because if we can just constantly bombard you with sensationalism. I mean, and it goes as far back as like P.T. Barnum and stuff. Like, everybody wants to see like something crazy, something weird, something different, something like out of the ordinary, extraordinary, right? And so that's kind of in. It's like when reality TV started to get really big. Like, everybody was like, "Oh, this is so dumb. This is super vapid." Like, that seemed to be the general like consensus. But you're still watching it. Yeah, you're still watching it. Court shows, all of that stuff. It's not just drama,
like the OJ
but it's just
chase. Where were you during the OJ chase? Right? It was like a 35-mile-an-hour low-speed chase. But we were all just glued to our screens while these guys are like sportscasters. Oh my god, he's fleeing right now, and the cops are in pursuit. It's like he's going 35 miles an hour, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
now that's so funny. Like, thinking back on that, like nowadays they would have just blasted the car to bits.
Yeah, they would have.
There's no running away.
The intersection.
There's no running
away.
It
with a law
they would have just like all 100,000 of those fucking cops were just unloaded on the guy until he stopped. Like, people want fame more than money on average. Truth is, fame is opinion. I don't like, dude. Even as a kid, when me and my buddies would talk about like, oh man, how we're going to be rich and famous and blah blah blah. I'm like, nah. Especially my buddy Nat. I'm like, dude, you can be famous. I'll be behind the scenes, the number 2, number 3, 4, 5 guy. I just want to be rich, and there's plenty. Like, I think this other guy, Gary V, talks about this every once in a while. He's like, so many people want to be the number 1 guy, like the face, the top of the top of the ladder. When you can like think about how many people are on a football team that you don't know. Think about the second stringers. They're still making millions. You know, and you don't even know their name. How cool is that? You still get all the money, you still get all the fucking benefits of being on an NFL team, and you don't have to do the pressers, you don't have to talk to anybody, nobody's begging you for your your autograph. You probably still got some sponsorships and stuff. You probably like a local plumber or something around the hometown that you're living in or something. Like, you're still making bank of money, and you have like 60% less stress than the top guys. Like, that's where I'm at. That's where
money over fame, 100%. Because 100%. Here's the thing: is fame is the big lie. It is a huge lie, and let me tell you, because I felt
the rented Lambo.
Yeah, it is. It's totally fake it till you make it, right? So here's the thing with fame, right? Is you get to a point, and one of the greatest stories ever told, if you want to go and like really understand like how fame is something. It's like what do they call it? The monkey's paw, right? It's you make a wish, but it's nothing like what you think. Go look up Notch, the creator of Minecraft.
Oh man,
like literally nobody knew who Notch was. Minecraft blows up. Now everybody knows who Notch is. Then he sells the company for like billions of dollars, buys like the biggest house in like Beverly Hills or whatever up on the hill. And the dude like can't stay married for more than 8 months.
He's obnoxious as shit. I follow him on Twitter, and sometimes
he's poisoned. The dude literally has been poisoned by his wealth and his fame. Yeah. Like if he just had the money, probably wouldn't be that big of a deal. But the fame, he had so many fake people around him all the time that just wanted to be around him because of his stats. That he had no idea like who his friends were. If he had real friends, it was just like you get stuck in a glass box, and you don't know what to do. It's like, how do you get out of it? It's like, how do you find a woman to spend your life with when the second she meets you, she knows that you're like a billionaire? Like how do you and you're like this famous person that created like one of the biggest games in history. What do you do when you have a bunch of friends in your party and everybody's like, "Notch, you throw the greatest parties and everything"? Well, what happens if you can't throw those parties anymore? Do they still come around? The answer is no, not really. Like, most of them won't. So you have a hard time telling who your genuine friends are. And then your genuine friends that were there ride or die, you start to even question them at a certain point, because you're like, now they're just mixing in with the bunch of everybody else that's just always around you all the time because of your fame. So it's a little intimidating. Like, I've never experienced it like at an insane level, but no, I've gone to conventions before where it's like I'm stopped every 10 feet for like 3 days in a row.
Right.
And people are like, "Whoa, dude, I love your stuff," and they'll talk me up. And I loved it. I love it for the most part, but you eventually get to a point where it starts getting like scary. Like you can't go to the bathroom without people stalking you in the bathroom. You have people that are like looking over your shoulder when you're on your phone trying to get your number and then call. I had that happen. Somebody looked over my shoulder, got my phone number when I had my phone out and I was like going through my contacts. He like over my shoulder got my number and then called me later and he's like, "Oh dude, I'm your biggest fan. I was just a little too nervous to approach you, but I got your number because I was looking at your phone while you were doing that. I hope you don't mind." I was like, "Yeah, I do mind.
That's fucking weird.
I do mind. Yeah. Or the guy that followed me to the bathroom where I had to actually call Ultimaker like on the phone and have them send somebody to the bathroom to remove this guy because I'm sitting in there taking a shit and he basically corners me and is just talking about everything. Like, "Oh yeah, dude, how do I get my YouTube channel going?" Like, "Oh dude, I really love how you did that. Can I collaborate with you? Hey, can we do a video after you're done here? Can we go and do a video for my channel?" And I'm just like, "Dude, you got to go away." And he's like, he just ignored me. Like I wasn't even talking. Like, no, you don't mean that. Like, no. "Oh dude, oh, you're so funny. Ha ha ha. Please, would you leave?" "No, oh God, you're so funny, Jerry." Or, he called me Jerry because he thought it was cool that he knew my real name. And, but I had to have somebody physically come from the booth and like remove this guy. And then when I came out of the bathroom, he was like right on my tail again within like 2 minutes.
Damn.
Following me around. They had to ban him out of the booth because he was just getting so out of control. And then even after they banned him, they're like, "Dude, listen, you got to leave." He just stood outside of the booth, just like smiling at me all creepily, like he was going to steal my kidneys, looking through the chain link fence. And I'll be honest, it kind of like threw me off for the rest of the day. And it doesn't happen a ton of time, but it does. There's always a couple everywhere you go. So imagine if you were really famous. Imagine like Logan Paul level of famous where everybody knows who you are or something. Like you will never go anywhere where you can just be yourself. You can't walk into a Walmart. You can't go and put gasoline in your cart. Nothing. You will
look at VidCon. Just look at VidCon and what happens to guys like Markiplier or back in the day. I don't, maybe not as much anymore, but yeah. People literally getting like trampled to like get an autograph from somebody. It's crazy.
I remember when I went to was it Penny Arcade Expo? Yeah. And Markiplier was there and PewDiePie were there this one year.
Madhouse.
And they had to have a full entourage of bodyguards around them to move them through the crowd. Jeez. Because the crowd was just like literally just like people just screaming and reaching for them. And like it was the craziest thing. It literally looked like animals like trying to eat a like a hyena trying to like take down a Cape buffalo or something. And you could tell that they're just used to it.
Yeah.
Like Felix and Mark just look straight ahead and just walk and like get to your thing. And I've seen it happen with like the mainstream celebrities too. Like when I went there, Nathan Fillion was walking around and he's pretty cool. Yeah. He'll just go walk among the people. And he's like super, super chill about it. But you'll just get these people that are coming. They'll just be like shoving through the crowd and screaming bloody murder and like physically climbing over people. And when he sees it, he tells them to knock it off. He's like, "Yo, dude. He's like, I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. Like, calm down, guys. Calm down." Because you'll get these people that are just like, "Oh my God, I love you so much. And because I love you so much and I'm your biggest fan, I'm within my rights to hurt everybody and show you how much I love you." It gets really scary and creepy. And so yeah, I'm with Adam on the if you have the chance between fame and money, like take the money.
Yeah.
Because once you have the fame, everybody will know who you are. What's that?
Yeah. It's horrible.
Yeah. Hey, thank you, CeeLo Cubed, for the 20 pounds. We appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, man, I wonder where everybody is today. Our viewership's only at about half normal. I don't think they sent out notifications to people. Darn it. Because I think the only people here are the ones that saw it on Twitter. That is unfortunate. Well, this is what you deal with on YouTube anyways these days. They change. It's a moving target constantly. But we do thank you guys that actually did get a notification showed up today. But I will tell you that the biggest complaints that I have with any level of fame is just having a hard time telling who your friends are because everybody treats you differently. That's another thing. Regardless of money. Money also changes how people treat you. But fame like really changes how people treat you because people can't disconnect you, the human being, from whatever it is that you're famous for. Like there's no separation there. And because of that, it just makes it really, really awkward because you question like, when I was at the top of my game on YouTube and I was making all these huge videos and stuff, you'd have these companies and stuff, flying you out and wanting to hang out and wine and dine you. "Oh my God, you're great to hang out with and you're awesome." Don't get me wrong. There's a handful of companies I'm still huge friends with today that are just awesome guys. And they genuinely liked what I did and who I was. But the vast majority of them, they treat you like you're their best friend until you're no longer making them money or you're not directly involved. Right. And then it's like the phone stops ringing, right? Yeah. They won't call. They won't answer anymore. And I've also had that relationship with other YouTubers too, where it's like, the only time the relationship actually exists is when there's a financial gain.
Yeah.
And so it starts fucking with your brain a little bit. You start getting to the point where it's like, you can't tell. You're like, man, I got so many friends and I got all the cool stuff and I got all my toys. But it's like at the end of the day, in the back of your head, you're just like, but who are my real friends? Like, if that all went away tomorrow, who would hang around and who would leave? Right. And the answer is a lot would leave. Like, people that you would never in a million years think would just like turn their back on you. They will. If they can, not everybody, I'm sorry, but they will go to another place if they can find success somewhere else and they can find something that's profitable. And that's where it gets really hard to separate out personal from business relationships. In most jobs, you can do that. Like if you go to a day job, it's like, it's a professional relationship if you're going out to lunch with another company and talking about selling them stuff, right? It's like, that's a business meeting. That's a business lunch, right? You're cordial, you're nice to each other, crack some jokes, have a good time, but that is a business relationship. If you meet somebody outside of work that's not related to business, that is a personal relationship. And then you guys can build on hobbies and likes and dislikes and things like that. When you are a content creator, that line is blurred.
Yeah.
That line is completely blurred because you are always simultaneously the business guy and the personal guy. So the way people treat you, you can't tell, wait a second, are you treating me this way because I'm Jerry, or are you treating me this way because I'm Barnacules?
Right.
And that really does start to eat at you a little bit. Actually, I mean, I'm literally in therapy and we talk about this is like we have a set out, chunk in therapy to talk about like the mental phobias and stuff that I've developed as a content creator with people that I thought were really close to me, ultimately just using me as a meal ticket. And then people that I didn't really think that I was that close with that were more of the business, they ended up like sticking around and ended up like just wanting to talk and stuff like that, just be like regular people. Right. And so it completely threw me off because I usually guess wrong. Like I think that I have it down. Nope, I'd get it wrong. Yeah. And it would take like a traumatic experience basically to determine which side they were on. It's like, oh, now because I'm not doing this specific thing anymore that benefited them. Oh, now all of a sudden they're hanging out with this other person that's doing exactly what I did for them before I stopped doing that. You know what I mean? It starts getting just a little bit weird. And it's an uncomfortable topic. I don't think a lot of content creators talk about how lonely it is. Like fame is.
I do see it come around lonely sometimes.
Oh,
but
good.
And not just fame though, but just like or streaming, right? I think it's a bit more understandable now because it's a lot more mainstream. But even still, it's.
Uh-oh.
Nah, that's fine.
I think I lost you.
No, that's okay. I guess the dog was trying to paw at the door, and I tried to get her in earlier, and she didn't want to come into the office. So
is she in now?
Yeah, she's good.
You're a little pity.
It's just like some people don't. Well, especially man, so having, I guess, one foot in like the content creation world in a way, and then also like rubbing up on the industry in those circles a little bit, like from work and personal relationships and things. People don't really, the general audience, and this goes for all kinds of content creation, not just YouTubers, but just in anything.
Yeah.
The general public do not understand the work that goes into making anything of quality or consistent quality. Whether it's a stream, like you'll see the big streamers out there, they'll stream 6 days a week, 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
And a lot of people still have the attitude that it's like, oh, you're just playing video games all day. And it's like, no, it's not. Like, just try. Just try, like, forget the viewership, forget whatever, but just try to go live to emulate what you see from your favorite streamers. It's insane. It's really, I used to do 2 streams a week for 6-ish hours where I was just building PCs and talking to nerds, 150 viewers, and it was exhausting.
Yeah.
I could bust out 3 machines a day without anybody bugging me. I could barely do 2 on a stream, and I'm wiped. I'm dead. Like, it is hard. It's not just the work or the video game. It's the constant talking. It's it's everything involved in it. And I was like lazy and half-assed about it, and it's still hard. And or look at YouTube. You try and put out a YouTube video once a week. Just do once a week, right? And it's hard. And people like don't, I feel like, really realize the effort that goes into
well, think about it this way. How easy is it to do something when you can sit and just focus on the thing you're doing versus having to like talk to an entire group of people the whole time you're doing it? Like, you're not going to get famous on Twitch and YouTube by just like playing a video game with no face cam, no reaction, and no interaction with your audience. Like, that's what makes live streaming special and differentiates it from a video, is that it's interactive, right?
Yeah.
So it's like when you add and that's why I love it. That's why I love live streaming even more than making videos now, is because of that interaction component. But people seem to think it's like, oh, you're just playing video games all day. It's like, no, you're not just playing video games all day. Like, even if you're streaming video games, what you're doing is interacting with people and trying to make entertaining content. Yeah. Man, I cannot speak today to save my life. But you're trying your best to like entertain a group of people and to keep them laughing and to keep them happy. That actually does take a lot of energy and a lot of effort. I crash at the end of every one of my live streams. I go for 4 or 5 hours, and then after that, you can just watch me just fall off a cliff. Energy. I run hard as I can to the end. And it makes me sad when I do see people that just like marginalize it, like, oh yeah, you don't have a real job, you're just making videos or recording stuff. It's like, go try it yourself. It's not that it's just like reality TV. Yeah, like you watch reality TV and you're like, oh, they're just recording stuff that you're already doing. No. They have to make sure that they're getting their angles right. They have to make sure the lighting's right. They have to make sure the story is cohesive. They have to make sure that it fits together and it's not confusing. The editing is a huge part of it. I mean, it's way more complicated than people think, but it's one of those things where it's like making it look simple is part of the success. Like reality TV, if you didn't make reality TV look like it was real by literally faking everything, you wouldn't believe it, right?
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't watch it. Would you watch an episode of Gold Rush where it's like there's no dialogue, everybody's heads down with their earbuds in, just like digging a hole for 8 hours?
Right.
No, they start at the beginning of the show and do a storyboard and everything. And they're like, okay, well, your mind day, we're going to do this and we're going to have this conflict between these people. I'm going to make sure a cameraman's here so that we can get that encounter where you clash together. And it's all like premeditated, the whole thing in reality TV, because you cannot depend on something happening.
Right.
And it's the same thing with YouTuber. If you watch, and this is why I wish that YouTube would require people to put a notice at the beginning of the video, because this is where kids are starting to get into a lot of trouble right now. Is you'll have people do like the kissing challenge where these guys are just walking down the street and just like forcing these women into kisses, and the videos go hyper viral. But then the problem is they don't disclose that those are paid actresses that consented ahead of time, that it's all set up and it's all fabricated. Every one of them is. They all are fabricated. Every time they get called out, they come forward. Oh no, that was we paid them and they were actresses or they were our friends. And then what happens is the kids are like, man, that video got 10 million views. I'm going to go do that. And then they go out and they end up kissing somebody, and then it's sexual assault, and they end up going to the juvie, or if they're an adult, they go to jail and end up accruing a bunch of fines. And they're just like sitting there and confused, like, oh, but I saw it. It's just a prank. It wasn't bad. It was just a prank. Like this is on YouTube. But what you don't realize is the stuff on YouTube is all fake. It's all fake. Every single one of those things you see on YouTube is fake. It absolutely, I can tell you that from experience, being around all the vloggers, family vloggers, individual vloggers, going to all the vloggers. They're all fake as fuck. Okay. It is all fabricated. It is all, your kid, if your kid doesn't do exactly what they're supposed to, being cutesy wootsy in the video, you make them do it again. You make them do it. Exactly. And it makes me sad that people look up to stuff like Sam and Nia, for instance, right? It's like super ultra Christian couple, like, oh my God, we love Blessed Father, bring us our children, and singing Disney songs and being all wholesome and shit, but off camera, he's like, fucking everything on Ashley Madison and, treating his wife like shit, making her walk behind him like we're in like a third world society, and ignoring his kids unless the camera's running. Like, I got to see all that. I literally watched the dude like try to get in a fist fight at Vlogger Fair and have to be removed by the Seattle police. And yet you go back and he's the guy that faked his pregnancy. Like, husband finds out wife is pregnant before she does, where he staged this prank where, he like took some pee out of the toilet that she conveniently didn't flush, and then told her during breakfast that she was pregnant. All fake, all bullshit. They did this over and over and over again. And yet they're still around today. They're still around today and still getting millions of views, because no matter how many times they fuck up and they show their true colors, you still have a group of people that are coming in for the first time that don't go back and look at anything, and they're just seeing them for the first time. They're like, oh, they're so sweet, and I look up to them. It's like, you do not want to be like them. You absolutely do not want to be like how about Shay Carl, the Shaytards, right? We all grew up with the Shaytards, like everyday vlogs, everything. We find out that, you know, he's got bad substance abuse problems. He's only nice to like his family and stuff when it's on camera. Off camera, he's completely just like gone and missing out of their lives. He admitted to all this personally. I'm not digging on the guy. Like, he came forward with all this that was building on his chest over time and made a video that's basically like, yeah, you know, I destroyed my family. I destroyed my life. I did all this. But the thing is for years, people were like using that as a model of like, why isn't our family like that? Why aren't we that close? And why aren't we like all super happy all the time and jumping around? Because the truth is that's unrealistic. And when you set that unrealistic expectation, you make people feel sad, right? Because they're like, why can't I be like this? You know, it's like when a singer gets up there and sounds absolutely amazing because they auto-tune the ever-living shit out of them and they're singing from a guide track. And you're like, man, I wish I could sing like that. No matter how much I practice, I can't sing because it's fucking inhuman. It's like you can't. You literally cannot.
Yeah. Oh. But this, and again, that kind of is the whole deal with a lot of the social media stuff or the bigger stuff, at least. I mean, it's no different than beauty magazines or anything else. It's all there to present a fiction that you strive for, you know. But like,
I just wish there was some more accountability is all. I just wish that, like, you know, the Logan Pauls, when they're like setting big fires in their backyard and their neighbors are screaming and the cops are pulling up and running the sirens and everything. There's like more context there to what's actually going on, you know, so that people aren't like, oh my God, this is like, these guys are so hardcore. Although I will tell you that Logan was a victim of his own success because he started believing and drinking his own water, which was weird. Like, he used to fake everything. And then he's like, fuck it, let's go like record real dead people hanging from trees and stuff. He disillusioned himself so much making the fake content that he actually he basically duped himself.
Yeah.
Which is sad, I mean, but again, my biggest problem is just this. There's no accountability with YouTube or any of these platforms to basically say the video you're about to watch, just some little TV even has it, right? The FCC even requires it. But on YouTube, there's no like little placard or everything that's like, you know, these situations are paid actors. These are people that are, you know, do not try this at home. These are all paid actors. This is all scripted. There should be something there. So at least going into the video, these kids that are watching it don't go, oh man, I'm going to go do the skull breaker challenge. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm going to go do the eat a whole thing of cinnamon and aspirate and die challenge. Like, because they're doing it because they see a video of somebody doing it and they don't realize that they're using a trick or a gimmick.
Yeah.
To like pull it off and make it look like they're doing it when they're absolutely aren't. And then the person goes and does it, like the you know, remember the whole Tide Pod thing, right? That was a big deal because people were like actually eating them. And it turns out the guy that started the whole thing, he didn't actually eat a Tide Pod. Like that was completely staged, but everybody else actually went out and did it. And it's like, my God, the things that people do for fame because it's easier. This all loops back full circle to the original topic, which is if you are willing to throw morals out the window and you don't give a shit about other people, you can make a lot of money because you can lead them to believe that you're doing something that nobody else would do. And therefore you don't have a lot of competition because that's what success really is. Like, if you think about it, like fame and money are basically just a derivative of uniqueness, right? If everybody in the world creates the same product with the same specs, none of them are really going to stand out. You have to be the unique one among the crowd that stands out and does something that other people aren't doing. And, in the content creation business, that pretty much means, okay, either I can sit down and make educational content that's really freaking good from a perspective of somebody who's an expert, or I can just go the easy route where it doesn't require PhDs and education, a lot of things, and just run around naked in the intersection until a cop shoots me with a beanbag gun and make 10 times as much money, right?
And then, like, to me, that leads to the conversation of like, of happiness, right? Is too many people define success as like having like a shit ton of money, and I feel like that isn't the right angle. You can I don't know, I want to strive for like being happy, you know.
Do you think Logan and Jake are happy? Like, have you seen them like whenever they show up in somebody else's video? They're run down, they're tired. It's like they only turn it on for the camera, right? Because like that's where the money is. That's how they keep their bills paid. But off camera, no, they're for dude. They are so burned out.
I would think, you know, and like, I wonder how it is like for reals, like when they crash out and it's like just them all by themselves in their room or whatever.
Yeah,
you know,
dude, go to Vlogger Fair and get in the green room. if you want to change, like if you watch any vloggers, I don't care who it is, just people that do like family vloggers, personal vloggers, go to Vlogger Fair and go into the green room. That's where all the famous vloggers that have over, what is it, like over 100,000 subscribers or whatever, they have a place where they can go to basically get away from their fans because they can't walk around the event without constantly being pinned down. So they basically, the green room is where they can go and rest and refresh. I was in the green room just being a fly on the wall at every single one of those things. And I can tell you one thing, the second the people come through the door, their face drops. They look depressed as shit. They either quiet down or they're super agitated. They're talking shit to each other. They're treating their spouses bad. They're yelling at their kids. Like it is. And then the second that they get up and they like do their game face, like I saw this multiple times, right? They get up and they're like, okay, checking the thing. Okay, we good. Okay, lav mic's good. Okay, everything. Okay, we're good. Blah, blah, blah. And then they walk out of the room. And as soon as they walk out of the room, it's like, hi, guys, how's it going? Because there's all their fans are waiting outside of the green room for them when they're coming out. Hey, when are they coming out? When are they coming out? So then when they come out, it's like, oh, my God, you guys, we're so happy that you're here, even though we've been like purposefully avoiding you for like 30 minutes in here talking shit about you. It's like it's just a game. It's a means to an end. And it just makes me mad that like they're presenting themselves as that genuinely.
I do think there has been a bit of a trend lately. I would say in the last like year or two. Actually, yeah, probably like it really started like pre-pandemic, but like with more and definitely through it and now and up to like today, where people are talking more about it, like their mental health and whatnot. And I feel like there is a kind of quiet but large sort of section of the masses that are kind of understanding, I guess, of it. People saying like, "Dang, look, guys, I'm sorry I can't stream today. I'm not feeling it." Or doing like a chill stream, like, "Hey guys, we're not gonna play any games, so I'm just gonna go live for a couple hours and just like color." I'm just gonna color today. I'm not like, we're not doing my normal stuff. Like, tune in if you like, but I'm like, I don't want to not stream, but at the same time, I just don't have it in me to do what I normally would, and I feel like that's that's more okay, I guess, from the masses than it used to be.
Yeah. No, actually, you mentioning it is true, because I've seen people like Trinity and stuff like message, hey, I'm not feeling good, we're just gonna chill, or we're just gonna do something like that. And I've seen people also say that hey, I'm just really depressed today and I just don't feel like it'd be a good show, I'm gonna go shut down. So I do agree with you that we are seeing it become more and more common now that people are being a little bit more honest about their emotions and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's like when your success is so heavily hinged on not who you are in real life but the character you portray, you feel like you have to play that character. Like it's really difficult to separate it out, right? It's like Larry the Cable Guy, right? The dude literally became the character. Like he was a character and it was a bit he did, and now his entire life, even when he's off camera, he's literally Larry the Cable Guy, right? He modeled his life because it was just too hard to go back and forth between that character and who he really was.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I can't. I am me. Like I can't. I mean, everybody's got their masks. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, absolutely, myself included. Totally. Yeah.
But like the mask you guys see like here or on my streams is the mask most people see. That's my public mask. You know what I mean? I'm not that different in private because I don't care to be. I'm not. The character that I am is the character that I've built over my 30 some years of living, and that's who I am, and it's too exhausting to try to be anything else.
No, and I can attest to that too. Like, you are exactly the same in person as you are on camera. And I have a few other friends that are like that too. Like I value that hugely. Like when somebody can just be be themselves on and off camera. Like somebody earlier was talking about Billy the Fridge. You know Billy the Fridge, right?
I've heard. I don't know.
He's a Seattle rapper. Really, really nice dude. Says some really funny shit, but he's one of those guys where it's like, I met him in person, I don't know, about a half dozen times. He is exactly the same in person as he is on camera. Like, exactly. He's the same goofball, nutty, doesn't matter. Just, and it's so rare to see that. Like I've had so many, just like I've just gotten blindsided before because I've gone to conventions and stuff like that where I've met other YouTubers and the way that they are around their fans, like in the public versus how they are behind a closed door in a one-on-one conversation is mind-blowingly different. Like, I mean, not just a little bit. I'm not talking about, a little bit more energy when they're with their fans. Completely different person with different likes and different passion and everything. It's like they created that character specifically for the channel. And again, I'm not going to say that's a bad thing. Like creating a character like Boogie did Francis, and Francis is amazing, but look what happened to that, right? There's people out there that really think he's Francis and that Francis is the real one and Boogie is the character, and they threaten his life and shit over it. It's stupid.
That's weird. And again, if you can do it, like there's plenty of streamers out there who or content creators in general who play a part, and good for them. Like that's, and they can do that. That's cool. And so, and that is what works for them, is like they get to be this other person while on camera, and great, like cool. And it's self-awareness. Like somebody else was saying, like the happiness is fleeting or whatnot. He just wants to be like creatively satisfied, and cool. Like that is important too, is to find out what it is, what your carrot is how they put it. Really it's self-awareness. Like don't chase somebody else's thing because it worked for them. Like you got to do your thing. Not everybody can be a streamer, not everybody can do YouTube content, not everybody can do a podcast, whatever. Like heck, and maybe that isn't just do content creation, whatever your content may be. Maybe that's not your jam, like again, like you don't have to be the face. You don't have to be the one that is putting all that effort into it. Like you can be the number 2, the number 3, 4, 5 guy person, and and totally fine. Like
well, it's not just feeling like you have to defend your position. That's like I would rather be number 5, number 6, number 7, because then I don't feel like every day I've got somebody nipping at my heels and I got to defend something. I want to do what I want to do,
and feel satisfied in that. And like, because like I've heard that from other creators too, is like everybody wants to be the YouTuber, the face, the number 1, the person, but like there's so much, there's money to be made, but there's also a lot of satisfaction and happiness to be found in helping someone to be the face, like a killer video editor, right? Like they don't want to be in front of the camera, maybe, like I'm just saying, but they're still making, they enjoy what they do. They're making good money at it. And they don't have to be uncomfortable. Like that's super cool.
Yeah, half the story is in the editing, man. Like I've seen videos before that are like, there is no fucking way this is gonna work. You hand it to an editor and they come back with just pure magic. Like you can spin any story out of anything if you got enough footage.
That you enjoy.
Hyperion, thank you for the $2 Canadian ruse, sir. He said not on Twitch today. I never stream on Twitch on Saturday. Saturday is YouTube only, Tech Talk, 10 a.m. every Saturday for like 90 some odd episodes now. So I stream on Twitch Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then here on Saturday. That's my weekly schedule right now.
Yeah, right on.
Let's see here. So Angry Video Game Nerd, yep, total character. Nostalgia Critic, yep, total character. Dr. Disrespect, obviously, because he's broken character before, right?
Sure.
These are people that have had to break character because they've literally had people like coming to their house and like shooting up their house and threatening them and swatting them and shit because they think they're the character, just like the people that watch Game of Thrones and like were trying to like kill Joffrey, the actor that played Joffrey, because they couldn't disassociate like a TV show with dragons in it from an actor that plays a part. It's like that's a real thing though, man. That's a real thing. I've encountered a lot of crazies throughout this business, and people might be like a little offended by the use of but legitimately crazies, like people that have distorted reality so far that they've created entire relationships and fabrications in their head about you. I've had people before send me lengthy fan fictions about having orgies with me and my wife and expecting me to be like, oh, that's amazing. Like, oh, you're a fantastic writer and I love what you do. It's like, and I kid you not, I've had people send me stuff where it's like they've literally photoshopped, you know, my head and another person's head into like a pornographic scene and being like, I wish I could be with you like this. Like, I feel like, you know, we're soulmates and, you know, in another life, I hope that we meet and stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, like that is scary, man. That is like some Buffalo Bill, wear your skin on the face level shit. and the sad thing is over time, you actually end up getting used to it. So like, I tried to like multiply that by 1,000 and be like, man, like celebrities that everybody knows on the planet, right? Like, like people like, you know, fucking Robert Downey Jr. and Iron Man and stuff. Like people, it's like you cannot go anywhere without some kind of bodyguard, without being in some kind of protected area. Like you are a slave at that point. You have all the money in the world, but you're not leaving your compound.
Right.
Like you have to fly private jets because if you got on a public jet, everybody would run to the front and crash the airplane from throwing off the CG. Right. So it's like you, and that, by the way, that actually does happen. And, and I was on a, I've only ever flown first class like 3 times in my entire life. And 2 of the times it was because it was paid for by other people. One time because I got it for $50 on an upgrade. Cool. But one time I was sitting there and I sat next to a guy. I can't remember his name because I'm not a sports guy, but it was one of the Seahawks coming out of Seattle. He was sitting right next to me in the front row. And I shit you not, the entire flight from there to, I think it was Indiana. No, sorry. This is the one I went to California. Never mind. I flew down to California. The entire flight, people were just lining up in the aisle, blocking the aisle, trying to come get like signatures and selfies with this guy. And it got so bad that the first class crew had to like shut the curtain and basically like put a cart there. They moved a cart back there and blocked people from coming to the front of the airplane. And people were still queuing up and like sticking their head through the curtain, like, hey, psst, psst, hey, dude. Because he was way up in the front. We were in the front 2 seats. Like, hey, you know, Seahawks guy or whatever. Hey, cool. Dude, hey, can you come over here? Hey, my son really, you know, my son has cancer and he's dying wishes to get your autograph. Can you come here?
No.
And I was just like, and I could look at the guy and he was like, my God, I just want to get to my destination. He was tired, dude. Like you could tell he probably been training, probably going to sleep late. He's like, man, I just want to get to my destination. You know, he's not quite there where he has private jet money yet. He just has first class money. But it was like the entire flight they were having like beat people off of this guy.
Yeah.
And I thought at first I thought that was cool back then when it happened. This is years and years and years ago. But when it happened, I was like, man, that's cool, man. I didn't really talk to him because he was already getting hassled a lot. And I do a really good job about not hassling people. But I was like just looking at him and I was so envious. I was like, oh man, this guy, like everybody knows who he is. Everybody like wants to like, you know, tell him their story and take selfies. And oh my God, you're my favorite person in the world. Like, oh my God. But I looked at him and it's like he was just dead inside.
Yeah.
He was like, because nobody, it's like all these people, they just want a picture so that they can tell their friends, look who I found, or look at my friend. I made a new friend, or the social media credit and clout that you get from posting that is what's important, not actually meeting the person. Right, because everybody wants a signature, they want a selfie or something in that situation because they want something tangible that they can brag about to somebody else. Right, it's a status thing.
Yeah,
and I get it. I totally get it because I've done it myself.
Hey, I mean,
I see Nathan Fillion because that's how I met him at the thing. Right, it's like I cornered the sumbitch and got him to. Well, actually, did I ever get a signature? No, I didn't. God damn it, I didn't get a signature from him, but I did get to talk to him. And by talk to him, I mean, I was like, hey, what's up, dude? And he's like, what's up? And then I was like, okay, well, that was a conversation.
Yeah.
And I've met some of the other Guardians of the Galaxy too. Like the guy who plays Yondu. I always forget his name.
Oh, yeah. He was
Michael Rooker. Rooker. He that guy is awesome, dude. That guy is like the coolest, most personable dude ever.
I feel like that's an example of where somebody's like famous, but probably not getting hassled a lot.
Yeah. Yeah,
you know,
no. And the thing is like you could tell that he liked it more. I don't know, because he'd been around forever. That guy's been acting forever, right? Mm-hmm. So, but he could move around the convention and he'd have like, you know, maybe like 5 or 10 people around him. But like the people that were around him were much more respectful and much more personable than they were around like other celebrities I saw getting mauled. And I don't know if that's just because he goes out in the audience all the time and he's always walking around. So it's like, he's just kind of like acclimated everybody to be him being there.
Yeah.
But I found that kind of interesting because like when people come out like Nathan Fillion, you know, because you hear across the room 1,000 girls screaming bloody murder. Nathan! And like everybody just mauls over him. But this guy, no, Rooker, he could just like move through the crowd. And didn't have a problem. Same thing with Mythbusters guy, Adam Savage, right?
Oh, yeah. He does the incognito stuff.
He does the incognito thing because he can't move around the floor without it. If he moves around the floor without it, he's literally stopped every 1 foot and a mound of people will just pile up in front of him. And he has a real hard time like saying no. Like that, he's even said that before. Like he has a hard time saying no. That's something that he had to work on moving through because, and I've had to do that before too. I've been like at a convention and I'm literally going to a conference room where I'm the chief speaker, right? When I was in the Stormtrooper costume.
Oh yeah.
And I'm on the way and people kept stopping me and talking to me and my handler who was with me and making sure that I wasn't mowing over kids in the Stormtrooper suit. He's like, dude, we have to get there. We have like 5 minutes to get there and we have to navigate through this crowd. So it got to the point where he just basically went ahead of me and was just telling everybody out of the way. We're in conference room, blah. If you want to see the show, it's there. If you want to see the show, and he was just like mowing me through and dragging me through the crowd. Because every time somebody engaged me or stepped in front of me, I'd want to stop and talk to him. Because that's just how I am, right? It's like, I love meeting people and talking to people, these things, but it's like, I also had a room of like 500 people that if I didn't show up would just be sitting there, right?
Yeah.
So it was a little bit of a weird situation to navigate. And then the problem is if you tell anybody no, oh man, will they just run to the social medias and blow everything out of proportion every single time? Like I not even say no. I had a guy that I think I've told the story before. He was like 10 feet away from me and he followed me around and I kept noticing this kid, but every time I looked at him, he'd look away and look down at the ground and he'd ignore me. And so because I was waving him over, I'm like, come on over here. Hey, because I didn't know what was going on. He was just staring at me. And after like a full day of that, I go back to the hotel room and there's a Twitter thread that somebody shares with me. They found it. I didn't. And it's this guy just going off about how Barnacules is the most selfish, shittiest YouTuber that he devoted his entire life to watching my content. And I was like the greatest thing. And I saved him from so many bad things. And I couldn't even take the time to walk over to him to like say hi and give him a hug or an autograph or something. He's like, he's just such a piece of shit. And I'm like, I waved him over. He would not come over. He would not maintain eye contact. And I'm like, I get it. I understand. It's like maybe he just couldn't work up the courage to do it. But the fact that he went online and blasted me because I didn't push everybody else away and actively come over, he may not have even know who I was.
Yeah.
Right. It's like he may have just wondered why there was other people around me. So it was a weird expectation for that person to hold over me. And so I responded to him on Twitter. And I said, hey, listen, man, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it like that. I didn't know who you were. You were standing away or whatever. And then he replied, oh my God, I can't believe you replied to me. Oh, this is the greatest day ever. And I was just like, fuck. So yeah, this is one of those topics where it's like, I know this isn't like an official topic today, but I think it's something that needs to be talked about because YouTube is basically creating idols, right? And not just YouTube, social media, TikTok, it is creating idols, right? And there's no way really around that. But the problem that I have with it is they're not doing anything to try to help the situation. You know what I mean? It's like they're not putting any kind of warnings on the video saying this is faked or this is staged. They're not putting any effort into having these people maybe say, listen, I'm a real human being and I create this content. There's only one of me and there's many of you. There's no effort being made because those things would dissuade people from for tens of millions of people following a single person and giving them all their money, right?
Right.
So they just don't, right? And it just becomes this hugely irresponsible thing. So I try to go out of my way to be honest about that stuff. Like I'm honest about, how I make my living, that I don't take the paid sponsorships usually. I talk about, if I'm not feeling good, I'm not going to stream. Some streams are going to be good. Some streams are going to be bad. I'm going to be honest about my emotions, even if people don't like it, be honest about my opinion. But the problem is if you choose to go down that path, you will minimize growth. Like you're not going to get growth and have that too.
It's about, I don't know. It's just about, you have to be honest and self-aware about what it is you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I figured out why I've been sitting here trying to figure out why our viewership is the lowest it's ever been.
Why?
I just figured out it's because I put OnlyFans in the title. Nobody got a notification that we're streaming. YouTube automatically decided to flag it as 18 plus content because I put the word OnlyFans in the title.
Interesting.
So as such, it didn't send out notifications. So did anybody in chat get a notification?
Tell all your friends.
Yeah, this is weird. Like I didn't know that they would do this just for a single word in a title.
Yeah.
But yeah, everybody that's in here right now are people that are joining because they saw it on Twitter, or they saw it on Facebook, or they saw the Discord post. Nobody is here because YouTube notified them that I'm streaming.
Wow.
Oh, Flappity said he did. He got one.
Okay.
So maybe he has 18 plus content enabled for notifications or something. Yep. Adam didn't get a note. Yep. Techno City said he got a notification, but I'm 18 plus verified. Yeah, so only 18 plus verified actually got notifications.
Maybe, yeah, weird.
So here, let me try that. Well, actually, it's not going to send out the notifications again, but
right.
but I'll just put in some asterisks like OnlyFans, and then Tumblr. I'll just do like TU star BLR Tumblr. Yeah. And Elon Musk humanoid robots. Okay, let me save that. Yeah, I was wondering because I'm like, man, this is like the notifications are not going out, and people are messaging me like, oh, dude, are you streaming today? Like when we're literally live right now. So YouTube is like purposefully like obfuscating and not sending out notifications and subs because I put a single word in the title. And here's the thing that sucks about YouTube: they don't tell you which words are bad and which words aren't, because then people would game the system, right? So you just have to guess.
Changing, I imagine it changes all the time. You know, whatever hot topic and might be vaguely, you know, uncool.
Yeah. This just pisses me off.
Notifications are always whack. Like even Twitch ones are like people come in 20 minutes late. Hey man, I just got the ding, and like,
yep.
So
it just, I don't know. It frustrates me because it's like, how do you adapt to the rule set when they won't tell you what the rules are?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like literally the title. This goes back to like the guys that are creating videos where they're condemning stuff and they're getting banned. Did you see that whole thing over the COVID? Like where people are creating a video. The title of the video is literally like, COVID is very real. You should get vaccinated. And the video will immediately get taken down for spreading COVID misinformation. This happened a whole bunch.
I bet that part of that is like a lot of like false reporting, you know. I bet there's like bots out there that are looking for videos with certain keywords and will like just automatically like report them just to bring them down.
Hey, I'm going to ask the audience a favor though. If anybody comes in here and says that they received a notification late of the stream, try to get my attention, like tag me on it or something, because I'm looking right now. I just edited the title and took out OnlyFans and Tumblr and basically just put in asterisks. And after doing that and enabling monetization, which is disabled by default on live streams when you first create them, enabling monetization, just by doing that, we're already at 340. We've already gone up by 40 viewers.
Nice.
And just and it's been 300 consistent throughout the entire stream up until this point. So I think they may be sending out like some notifications now. But this sucks because it's like, I see this every day where people on Twitter, they'll upload a video. YouTube will shadow ban that video because of like a word or something like that. And then no notifications go out to anybody and the viewership falls on its face. And then there's no recovering because once the viewership doesn't get that initial boost, it'll never go. It's done. Yeah. So what'll happen in some cases, like, what do? Do you just write off the video as that was a bunch of wasted effort? Or do you delete the video and re-upload it, change the words, and then get it back? But then your audience freaks out because some of them might receive 2 notifications for the same video.
Right.
It's like what is the right thing to do in that situation, right? And I think the answer is there really is no right thing to do. Gordon said, fuck YouTube, just start using Odyssey. That's Library's basically new name.
Oh, yeah.
Library's kind of getting in a little bit of hot water right now. So apparently Library has been allowing like a bunch of adult content to be uploaded, and even Library themselves, the CEO of the company, has been promoting some of these accounts that are uploading adult content. And I'm not really clear on why, like what their strategy is here. But the whole idea was it's supposed to be this platform that's open to anything. And it is. It's a blockchain. You can upload anything, but all the filtering is done by the website.
Okay.
So if you go to the website and you do a search for like, nude or something like that, you might see a couple things that have nudity in it, but for the most part, they do a good job filtering it out, the 18 plus stuff, unless you log in and enable that specifically. But the problem that they have being blockchain, and this is a problem with all blockchains, unfortunately, is you can't control once something's in the blockchain, you can't remove it.
Right.
Because everything is dependent on the previous post. So of course, just like with everything else on the internet, people have been reporting that there's like a huge uptick in like, child exploitive material being uploaded, like bestiality, necrophilia, like all these like really terrible bad things are being uploaded and stored in the blockchain. And the problem is, even though the website doesn't show them, you can basically go look at the blockchain directly and extract the elements yourself and download them.
Yeah.
So you basically have this thing that was created, again, like a video distribution surface by YouTube, but by the very nature of being distributed, it's also open to these kinds of attacks where people are publishing this content and creating new front ends and stuff on it. It's like, I don't really know how we're going to deal with that in the future. Like in a decentralized world, that is the one downside. Like you get a lot of upsides to decentralization, but the biggest one that you lose is the ability to prevent, horrible illegal content from being proliferated and moved around via that network. You know what I mean? And then you as a user are unknowingly storing that, right? So it's like when you're on a distributed network and you're syncing the blockchain, to your computer because you're mining or verifying transactions or using it.
Yeah,
you are unknowingly storing that content. Like, what does that mean for the law? Like, if it's stored in the blockchain and you're unaware of it there, does that ignorance of the data is no excuse? Like, what happens to you if you have one of these blockchains or you have like encrypted blocks of data on your computer that contain bad stuff that you never knew was there, but it was a part of syncing the blockchain?
Yeah.
Like, what does that look like legally? I wonder.
That's weird. That's a weird.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, this was something we were talking about yesterday too when we were talking about Apple. We did a little bit talking about Apple and their iOS 15 update that's going to basically like scan your devices for CSAM. And people are talking about like, where does that end? Like, because the database that contains all the definitions is not controlled by Apple. It's an external database. It's actually owned by a private company, which means that in theory, governments could lean on that company to add signatures that aren't CSAM because they're looking for like specific people in specific areas or demographics, or spreading propaganda or something like that. You know what I mean? They're looking for other stuff that could slip into that database. Then Apple can go, oh, well, it's not our fault. We don't own that database. We just implement the process of reporting it, right? So it's kind of getting freaky. Like this whole thing is getting freaky because I'm like, I feel like the more things become decentralized and the more that we're creating, like a blockchain based everything, like the next version of the World Wide Web apparently is going to be driven by blockchain. You don't really know what's on your device, do you? Like, people can put stuff unknowingly on your computer and on your devices, and that actually freaks me out even more than the mechanism that's scanning. You know what I mean? It's like, because there's so many ways that you can put stuff on somebody's device. I think about it, it blows my mind. Like, check this out, dude. What happens if somebody sends you like a Facebook image? Like, you download a Facebook image of a cat, and somebody just goes to the end of the cat image, encodes a whole nother image that's terribly, horrendously bad, that doesn't get decoded because it's not shown in the header, and they just plunk that on the end of the file, right? Yeah. And then you download that file, and then you upload that file somewhere else, and then somebody runs software that goes and looks for additional bytes after the header and then decodes that secondary image that you never knew that was there. You are now trafficking and distributing that file without knowing. Like, you're like, it's a cat picture. I posted a cat picture. It's weird to think about this stuff. Like, where does the liability lie in that case?
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like, man, yeah, that's weird.
It's a little bit of a mind job. The more I think about it, the more I'm like what if somebody goes and, hacks your OneDrive or whatever, right? Breaks into your OneDrive and then goes through and doesn't delete your files and replace them with other files, but rather goes through and edits your files and then just starts adding a bunch of really bad shit into the end of the files. That's like hackers lately have been doing Morse code. Have you seen that? Mm-hmm. So they're finding more and more hackers using Morse code as a means for storing data, because a lot of the mechanisms that scan these files looking for malicious code and hidden data, which Bing apparently and Google both do, by putting it as Morse code, their system dismisses it as a language, like not data that is an analog language. Exactly. So now they're like encoding like these like really bad like war scripts and bot networks and stuff in freaking Morse code and appending it on the end of files that are like that you could open as an attachment in your mail client, right? It's like a CSV file, and you open it up, and the CSV file is comma dash dash comma dash 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 comma 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 dash dash dash, and it's all Morse code. And then they create a decoder that puts that back into binary, and you now can traffic an executable through email that doesn't get caught by the spam filter. It's so bizarre, dude. Yeah. Like I feel like this is an unending battle. Like, it's just an arms race that will just go on forever and ever and ever. But I just feel bad that now we have these mechanisms coming down the pipeline where they're going to use the same type of AI that gets it wrong every day on YouTube, deleting people's videos and allowing other bad videos to stay. That same level of AI is going to be applied to deciding on whether the cops come and arrest you or not. Yeah. Like based on what your device. And I'm sure they're not going to ask questions until later. You're going to be beat to snot and thrown in the back of a vehicle. You're down at the department, like kicking out your teeth. 3 guys, Bubba, take you to the rails because, we don't like them child exploiters around here. And then it turns out in the end, it's like, oh, no, sorry. That was
fake. Oops.
Yeah,
not
that
your
was
fault.
fake. Oops. That was that. We accidentally got a mismatch on that. Hey, our bad. And they dust you off and give you your shit back and let you go. And you're just like, you got PTSD for life now. And every time a cop tries to pull you over on the side of the road, you just punch into the floor and like drive off a bridge because you're afraid of them. I just feel like actually this is a good segue into a topic is the Elon Musk's talking about creating a humanoid robot. Did you see that?
Yeah.
So Elon Musk, if I'm not mistaken, isn't he the guy that's like super fucking scared of like the T800, T1000 Terminator?
Oh yeah, he's big push on like AI regulation and stuff. Yeah,
yeah, like AI's, and so wouldn't that make him like the last person on Earth that's like, oh, I'm gonna go create a humanoid robot that like thinks and moves and acts like a human?
Well,
like,
I mean,
I don't know.
If you're worried about it, then you should make the one that is, in your eyes better.
Yeah, right? I guess that's fair. Like, yeah, if you're worried about like the AI becoming a problem, then arguably
show an example of how to do it right.
Mm-hmm. I guess I didn't really consider that. I just thought it was funny that he's like, man, AI is gonna destroy us all, and then he's like, come next year, humanoid robot.
Yeah.
It's like, and then the thing is like, they're already talking about robotic rights. Like so that we don't end up in robotic slavery, right? And so I read an article briefly yesterday that was talking about how like Google, some mechanism that Google's using is considered sentient by like some dude did a write-up where he's basically like, Google's mechanism has like for sorting search results or something like that has shown emotional responses. Like in how it selects content and stuff like that. So therefore, does that make it sentient? And does Google need to pay it? Like, does Google need to reward it or something for doing this work or offer it an option? And I'm just sitting here and I'm like shitting myself. I'm like, dude, how is this any different than a toaster oven or a blender or a microwave?
Yeah, that's silly.
It's just doing what you taught it to do. Even if what you taught it to do was to learn, you still controlled its foundation of how it learns, right? Even AI, right? Machine learning, you give it a matrix, and it follows that matrix. And if you fuck that matrix up royally, then sure,
the whole thing falls apart.
Yeah,
it's exactly. Not like it was like they were throwing off Tesla's early models and stuff, identifying stop signs by like putting a slice of tape over it, or like by tweaking the letters just a little bit by putting like white tape in certain, just making it a little different. And it's because that's the whole like caveat with AI is it's only good at one thing or maybe a couple things. Like it's not truly intelligent. It is a hyper specialized piece of software that does a thing that you train it to do.
Yeah.
Like it is not at all intelligent. It is not. And when things get too out of whack, it breaks, and it's dependent on human verified data every time. Every model it always comes back to human verified data at some point.
Yeah, like actually, one of the coolest AI studies that I've seen recently is there's a game called Trackmania. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about it. Oh yeah,
Trackmania. Yeah, that's a good one.
I love it. Xander and I have been playing it almost every night. Trackmania has like a method for you to basically automate it. Like there's an API that somebody wrote that allows you to automate things. And so a guy basically connected a neural network to Trackmania to teach it how to drive a car by itself. And so think of it like level 5 driving or whatever on a Tesla, but apply this to a Trackmania car. And even with that, he had to put it through literally millions and millions and millions of generations and car accidents and everything before the car could even make it to the end of the track reliably. And then when it made it to the end of the track reliably, as soon as you threw a new track at it, it basically had to learn most of it all over again.
Yeah.
And so yes, it's like it is learning, but when you think about like the matrix that it's going through and learning based on its inputs, it's basically like make a mistake and then learn from it, make a mistake and learn from it. But it's not make a mistake and then learn everything that can be learned from that mistake. It's only learning from that mistake what you tell it to learn from that mistake. So you're still telling it exactly what to do, right? I mean, you're like, okay, if you crashed into a wall, why did you crash into a wall? Why was there a wall in front of you? Was it because you should have turned? Okay, in the next generation, when you see a wall, turn either left or right. If you crash again, then right was the wrong decision. Why was it the wrong decision? What consistent pattern do you see every time you turn right versus turn left?
Yeah.
And you basically just keep resetting every time it crashes. Say, okay, when you crash, that's the end of the run. Reset and do it again. And I'll watch them just do tens of thousands of permutations of this thing to get the thing to the end. And it still was nowhere near to driving, like even at like an amateur level.
Yeah.
So
that's part of the problem with.
But the question is,
AI.
But the question is, if you threw a sufficiently fast computer at it, and you gave it that same model, right? You gave it that same model and just had it keep progressing through literally trillions and trillions of iterations, and all these computers were working together to all make sure they're not overlapping and they're all running new iterations. Would you eventually get as perfect of a run as humanly possible, just from like random like chance of trying absolutely everything that can be tried in the game? And would that be perceived as intelligence? Like once it got to that point and there was that many permutations and it had that much stuff in its matrix, would it be that discernible from like a human making the decision based on what it sees?
Yeah.
Like that's what I wonder. Is it's like are we just really sophisticated AI? like
in a big way.
Yeah.
I was talking about this last night. I was helping look through some puzzle pieces. My lady started a puzzle, and I was like, man, I wonder how cool it would be to like you have like an AI model to like look at all the pieces and then like how fast could it put it together? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that's kind of like that's what human brains are like the best at pattern recognition. That is what our brains are like designed to do, you know. But we've also had like a million years to get it right, and when you fail you die, right?
Yeah.
So
it's like the crash in the simulator, right? It's like death is when we stop learning and the next generation takes off again, right? And hopefully learns from our mistakes, right? Because it's like as long as you died within the scope of somebody else watching you die, they now know how you die, or at least have a suspicion of how you
way
die.
to pass on the information on like don't do that, or pain is nature's way of telling you not to do that again, right? It's a similar kind of concept, and like.
And you'd constantly be swinging back and forth too, right? So you'd be like, okay, if I go outside, I could die. So then you swing the other way after a couple thousand generations. And you're like, okay, but if I stay inside and I don't ever leave, I starve to death.
Right.
So then you go out and venture out a little bit, but maybe not as far. And then you're like, and you just keep swinging back and forth like a pendulum until you're eventually in the middle, this is the optimal survival strategy.
Right. Yeah, in a way, but thankfully you're right. You have it's not just one iteration. You don't have just one line. You have thousands of lines all trying to survive, and the iterations happen. That's procreation and stuff, right? The iterations go on and on and on. So again, like we're way more fuzzy. Like we have a lot of inputs, a lot of learning to do, a lot of feedback too. AI models are one thing. That's it. They're not built to do a lot of stuff. Like Tesla. Somebody said that Tesla's AI is like the best in the world right now. It's the best at one thing: driving a car. I said it's not going to make an omelet. Like it doesn't. And even then, it's only good at driving its car, based around the framework that it was given to learn within.
Right, you put it in a car that's like faster and doesn't brake as fast, and now everything it's learned is kind of irrelevant.
It's very rigid. It is not intelligent. It is hyper specialized. It's like having one tool like in your kitchen that only does one thing, cutting eggs or whatever. Right. and that's all it does. It is great at it, but you can't use it to make pasta. Like
right.
And it's the same concept. It's the same sort of deal. It's AIs are really good at what they're trained to do, but that's all they can do.
That's true. Hey, can you hold down the fort for a second? I gotta go take that 41-year-old tinkle. I'll be right back, sir. Entertain the troops. Oh, before I leave, Gimpy GG, thank you for the $5 super chat. He said, what's a CSV file? That's comma separated value. He said, my quad stick profiles are saved as those. Also great seeing you and Ox. Well, it's good seeing you too. And Eric G, thank you for that $5 super chat, man. I appreciate it. Dang, notifications not notifying, but I'm glad I still catch you guys live today. Thanks. Yeah, I've got confirmation from about 1 million people that they're not getting notifications unless they have 18 plus verified profiles. So I learned my lesson on this one, guys.
All right. Yeah, I don't know. I'm having, again, this is one of those like pies that I have half a finger in is AI and machine learning stuff, and it's super cool. I'm jazzed about AI and machine learning and stuff like to the moon. It's fucking cool as shit, but it's very narrow. It's very, very narrow, very, very focused. The ad. Yeah, that's a good idea, Dark Dragon. Thank you very much. Today's AuxxZillary sponsor is catching up with the nerds to these. I actually did an episode with one of the hosts of this show, and it's a couple guys out of London, I believe, out of the UK, and they just talk about nerdy shit. it's good stuff. It's actually really good stuff. These two guys just they're buddies, and they have their podcast. It's actually doing pretty well, I think, and I highly recommend it. As I said, I was a guest one time on their show not too long ago, a couple months, I think, and definitely check them out. It's good stuff. I think they recently started doing like some gaming related content. I saw something about game pads. I don't recall exactly now that that I'm like put on the spot. But yeah, go check them out. They're on Twitter at catch up nerd. Not ketchup like the condiment, catch up. Yeah, check them out. It's good stuff. Yeah, go do that. Go spread the word. Help them out. Give me more data on the advertising ROI as well. But yeah, check them out. They're good people. Right. Let's see. Hey, I've been this channel called Network Chuck. I have heard of him. Yes. Good stuff there too. Good here. When we're getting the first, like the tape on the glasses, classic nerd icon. Yeah. Catch up nerd. Good stuff. Catching up with the nerds. Catch up nerds on Twitter. Here, I'll put the Twitter in there too. But check out their link tree. Have you seen the GPT-3 model AI demos? Oh yeah. Good stuff. Human. Yeah, really, really good stuff for the GPT-3 stuff. So for anybody who doesn't know, GPT-3 is a like natural language, not processing necessarily, but it's like a natural language system. It writes human text. It's actually really, really good. There've been a few like full-on articles completely written by using the GPT-3 stuff. It's really neat. It's very, very. There's some good stuff. There's some bad stuff, but it's very powerful.
What was that? I didn't catch the beginning.
Oh, the GPT-3 model for I guess AI. GPT-3 is very advanced autofill in a sense. Yeah, it's almost like your predictive. Like my keyboard will try to guess what I'm trying to say the next word, right? Mm-hmm. Based on, I use the same phrases and stuff over and over again, so it kind of guesses. Sometimes you get a feeling of Ghost in the Machine when listening to the GPT-3 models. Sometimes, like if I just stumbled across like an article written by a GPT-3 model, I probably wouldn't know right off the bat. It is really, really good. But like when I've known like ahead of time, then you can kind of point out like, this feels weird. Like strange sentence structure doesn't feel right. The way that certain things flow feels a little clunky. But really, if you didn't know, if you just stumbled on it, you'd probably think, well, like they're just following like a template or something. It's got that kind of vague rigidity to it, but it's neat. Biggest concern with
this
AI.
like the tool? Is this the tool that they use like for those auto script generators and stuff, where it just like writes a movie script like corridor?
Yeah, in a sense. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. There's different applications for it. Like I've used it a few times for like social media post ideas, that kind of thing, like how to better phrase certain things, or because like there's certain frameworks that marketers will use, like ADA, right? Attention something. I can't remember what it stands for. AIDA. And it's like a framework for how to write good marketing copy, right? Or there's like pain. There's one that's why can't I remember these acronyms right now? This is like my job. But there's like pain, benefit, solution framework too, right? Like, man, it sure sucks having to chop these carrots every day. With the salad shooter, you won't have to do that. Buy one today, right? That's pain, benefit, and solution framework in a quick kind of sort of thing. and there's more to it than that, right? The GPT-3 thing is actually can be used for very robust applications. Like it's really, really cool to go deep into it. But it's neat. It's really neat. Dig into it. There's a lot of services that leverage it for different purposes. Yeah.
So yeah, I know. Is this like the Google autocomplete stuff, like where you type in a mail and it'll just be like, "Oh, this is probably what you meant to say," and it'll put like 40 more words on the end?
Kind of. The autocomplete's a little different. This is more for like actually generating content.
Okay. So you basically give it parameters and it spits out like natural language stuff. I don't know. Can I find a GP3 generator?
Yeah. There's a good demo. Because it costs money to use their API to like rent space on it. But there's bunches of like here blog writing. This is a good one. Blog writing demo for GPT-3 showcase. Blog idea generator. And actually some of it again it's pretty legit. It is actually pretty legit. I did the YouTube ideas. There's one service I went through like Copy Shark or something like that, and it's built off of the GPT-3 framework. But there's like blog idea or content ideas and stuff, and I'm like, damn, that's actually some good idea. I should do that. Some of this it's really interesting.
Oh wow! I found one where they're using it as a phone screener for interviews. Yeah. So I found one. It's like, human, hello, who are you? AR is, I am an AI created by OpenAI. How can I help you today? Human said,
that's a little one. That one I think is different. OpenAI.
OpenAI is different. Okay.
Similar. I think that's Google's like open one. GPT-3 is I think still backed by Google, but it's a commercial product. You'll see a lot of like free demos and stuff, but any of the services that are using it at the back end, yeah, because you gotta pay. I think Google to use the API for it, but
is all the processing done on the back end, or is this something that can be done like with your PC?
No, I think it is back. I think it is on their side. Yeah.
Okay.
GPT-3 equals OpenAI Musk back. Okay, so OpenAI is Musk's flavor of GPT-3.
Okay, so GPT-3. Hold on here. Script generator.
Like enter your topic here. Let's do. This is a blog idea generator for quantum mechanics. Generate an idea for a blog post on quantum mechanics.
Creepy, man. This is creepy because you can create a fake human using like character generator, or actually better than character generator. You create the like the actual human that doesn't exist. You know that website we used to go to is like this human doesn't exist. You take that, then you do like a voice speech synthesis that's convincing, right? That you can change any number of parameters to make it sound unique. And then you stack something like this AI on top of it that can actually write a script. And now you've basically created a mechanism that can just crank out and create automated videos on YouTube advertising products and services. Like you could create 1 million channels, right? And just have this thing cranking out videos. That's just like a deep fake of somebody's head on a body, a different one in each video, so it doesn't get flagged and it doesn't get duped. And a new voice going, "Oh, today we're going to be selling you this product because it's the best product and you should buy it because of this." And everybody knows. And you could like tune like how much fear you want to use. And then based on which video gets the most views, the next generation is trained to use a model that leans more that way. And you would ultimately have humans, just like with Capture or whatever, over time training the AI to manipulate them. I mean, we're already doing it, right? We're already doing it for like marketing stuff and marketing analytics through social media and stuff so they can advertise. But imagine having a fully automated model that creates a person that you will respond to perfectly. Like imagine having a product advertised to you that is literally like the woman that meets your absolute criteria for like voice, accent, visuals, and it's sitting there manipulating you, knowing all your likes and dislikes, everything you did, where you take your vacations and everything, and actually like slipping in references to things that only you would get. You know what I mean? Like it could manipulate you into doing stuff. And if you didn't know it was a real person, you would assume that it was like a real person. You're like, wow, this person's like really vibing with me. You could end up creating YouTube channels that are complete AI fabrications that people would potentially never know or not even care. They would just sit there and keep subbing and watching it.
Yeah.
That's wild, man. Like
it is very cool.
The future's,
in my opinion, I think it's neat.
Crazy. I think it's neat, but I think, just like everything else, I think it does have the potential to be abused. Everything can, though. That we've talked about that before. It's like there's no need fear mongering because it's like everything will be abused. Like, I'm sure somebody's been beaten to death with a windshield wiper before. You know, it's like there's always bad uses for things. So I try to focus on the good use of things. And I think more technology is always better. Like, I think you're better off knowing more and having more capability than you were not having that capability. And there's some people that will argue that that's not true. Like, oh, if we never invented that, this wouldn't have been a problem. But also realize if we never created that problem, we never would have, you know, had the drive to create the solution, which is even more technology, which can help us save us from other problems that we may not have created ourselves. Camaro 85, thank you, the €5. We appreciate that support, man. Said, hey guys, check out the Remix Bros on YouTube, mostly hip-hop songs using Trump, Biden, and Ken Copeland TV speeches, mocking them all. Oh my god, I'm gonna watch that later. That's hilarious. What is it called? The Remix Bros? All right, I'm gonna put this in the notes. That's funny. I did watch one guy who took was it Kim Jong-un speeches, and he turned them into he took out the sound effects, like him doing the words, and he made like a beatbox with them, and it was hilarious.
You ever play with AI Dungeon?
No, I haven't.
That's a real good example of GPT kind of evolution. Like so I'm on the Wikipedia page for it right now, and it looks like they've gone through a few different iterations. And their current best one uses GPT-3 to generate these sort of, I guess, like interactive fiction. It's like text based.
So it's like an unending world of D&D. You don't need writers anymore. It just writes itself.
Yeah, and it's pretty quirky because like it doesn't, or at least with the last I played around with it, it wasn't really good at remembering like previous actions, right? So like. You could do weird stuff that doesn't really make sense because like, oh, I thought I'd like killed that guy. But it's like, if you just reference that guy again, it's like, oh, he still exists. And so like, it's real weird and quirky, but it's really cool. That I think is a good example of leveraging the GPT-3 thing.
No, I'm going to look into this because I love automation. Like automation is like my jam, right? That's what I did for most of my life. And implementing something like this, where it's no longer just like a random number generator, it's like a smart random number generator to like change things up in a scenario. I think it'd be kind of cool. I think, and the funny thing is, you could actually like turn these technologies on each other. Like I'm sure GPT-3 is probably being used to actively like defeat CAPTCHA.
It wouldn't. It's more about, like I said, it's more about generating the content. It isn't like a adversarial sort of thing. It's more like, as an example, say you wanted to create a video about, I don't know, you got this cool new widget, whatever. Okay. And you go to like one of these, I guarantee there's a YouTube script generator or a script generator, or a blog, like write me a blog sort of thing. And you'd punch in, the widget, the X widget 2000. And what it does is, some of these tools will kind of combine, they'll like scrape the top performing like Google stuff. Like they'll scrape through, public available data from Google or whatever on the top performing content around that particular keyword. And then they feed some of that into the generator, and it comes back and says, okay, here's what you should say, kind of a thing.
Okay. Well, I have seen, so this wouldn't be GPT-3 then, but I did see a really clever way to defeat Google CAPTCHA the other day. It was a script. It's on GitHub. I'm not going to tell you like where to go get it. You guys can go search for it, but there's a script on GitHub that defeats CAPTCHA, and it uses like the weakest link. And I thought this was clever. It uses an API for an IP telephone service where if the CAPTCHA pops up, you basically tell the CAPTCHA that you're blind.
Yeah.
And then what it does is it calls the phone number, and then it's like tells you what to type in. Like 3, 2, 4, 7, F, D. And so then they use speech to text. So they basically get a phone number that's a unique phone number from this API. And then it calls that phone number. Then the script picks up the phone number, reads the letters, types them into the CAPTCHA box, and it defeats the CAPTCHA like every time. So even though Google put all that stuff in place to like prevent you, from being able to automate it with the noise and the image and stuff and making it really difficult to answer the CAPTCHA, they left one big gaping hole, which is accessibility. Because if somebody's blind, they can't see all that shit. So you have to tell them what to type. And somebody just leveraged that. And I'm like, so why go through all the see, I hate it when stuff like this happens where they create something that's like really, really secure, and then they put in the weakest link, right? They have to support some weird scenario or something like that, and they add that, and it basically demolishes all the security. of everything else around it. And this is one of those cases. This is one of those cases where I'm like, man, okay, if you can just defeat a CAPTCHA, or another good example of this is Windows activation. Yeah. You've probably done this before, right? Where it's like you put in your activation code and it's like, oh, this code has been used to activate too many computers or something like that. So all you do is unplug the network cable, call up the 800 number from Microsoft, type in say I want to do manual activation. When it shows there's no network, it'll say, oh, do you want to do a manual activation? Yeah, sure. Call the 800 number. You put in the little code on the screen. It gives you a number back. You type it in and it activates, and you can activate unlimited PCs doing that.
Yeah.
And then once you activate it, it stays activated. And it's like, So you went out of your way to create the system that verifies the codes if you activate over the network and says, sorry, this code's been used too many times. But then you offer this free toll-free number that guarantees activation on everything unlimited times. Mm-hmm. It's just so silly. It's like, why spend the time like to implement that system that basically tells you, no, you have to go and buy another code when you clearly have a thing that allows you to work around it easily without any hacks or anything like that. It's just so stupid, man. And this reminds me of back when I worked at Microsoft, and we had this thing called Windows. It's still there today, called Windows Testing Technologies, or WTT. And it was the automation harness we used to test to run software on the lights out labs. So we'd have these big labs full of computers and we'd send them jobs, right? And so people quickly figured out that a lot of the automation we needed to run needed certain levels of access to resources on the network. So we didn't want to build it into the script because that would be a plain text password, right? We don't want to like put netuse and put a password into the script. Sure. So instead they created this thing, the brilliant minds of WTT are like, okay, well, we created something called a local logical user. And what it does is it creates an encrypted username and password, and it stores that into this local logical user thing in the registry. And then it decrypts at runtime and uses it to use the resource. And then it unuses the resource at the end of the test. And I'm like, man, okay, that's a really complicated mechanism. And remember, they're doing this because they don't want a plain text password in the job, right?
Sure.
They don't want to put the account information in the job. But the funny thing is they're developers themselves that are creating this. So they should know that all I have to do is set a breakpoint in the middle of execution and the computer has used that resource. So now I can run anything else on that computer and it's authenticated. So I can run the job, pause the job, and now I have access to whatever net uses happened, right? Because it didn't undo them at the end. So that's one way to do it. The other way to do it is I can break it into the debugger and I can just look at the decrypted username and password in the local variables of the program. So that's another way I can get it. Another way I can do is I can just create a job that basically says to type in the username and password and pipe it out to a text file. When the job runs, it decrypts it to the real username and the real password and puts it in a text file. Right? So there's all these different methods to defeat it, right? There's 100 different ways that I can extract the username and password, or I can get it to authenticate with any resource and do what I want. So what was the point of doing all that work to create these encrypted LLUs everywhere? And when I pointed that out and I filed all the bugs, they just came back and resolved it as an architectural issue will not fix. So we still have to go through the trouble of creating these LLUs, constantly updating them, going in and making sure that, everything's working, and then having to debug this like really sophisticated encryption code base to hold these passwords and everything, when literally there's no more security than us just putting the username and password right into the script as a variable when we run it, which is what we were doing originally. It's so stupid, dude. It's so stupid. But the funny thing is the LLUs gave a false sense of security. So where nobody would put in a really sensitive account, like one that has source access.
Yeah.
Because the LLUs existed, everybody's like, oh, it's secure, we'll go ahead and do it. So there's like a million LLUs in the system for all these users that had full source code enlistments to everything, which means you could just go create a job and just say netuse every resource or star, any resource you connect to, try to authenticate with these 100 LLUs. And chances are one of those LLUs has access to that resource, even if it's like really critical source code.
Ow.
And so you could just create a job, say run every LLU, and then just go to any share on the network and copy stuff. And chances are you would get to it and access it and get it out. Wow. I was like, but they wouldn't fix it. They wouldn't fix it because it was one of those things where it's like I proved that it was architecturally flawed. And because it was architecturally flawed, they're like, okay, well, fuck it. We're already using it. We already promoted it. And everybody got like bonuses and pat on the back for this, like, great security mechanism that they added to automation, making it so secure. And I'm like sitting over there just like face palming because I'm like, you fucking idiots. You all know it's garbage. You all know it doesn't work. You all know that it's not secure at all. But you're just going to ignore all that so that you can like, get your little plaque and your little pat on the back and your promotion. That shit happens all the time, man. All the freaking time. I don't miss that. I really don't. Let's see here. What do we well, we might as well just jump into the OnlyFans thing since it screwed us and didn't send out any notifications because I decided to put that in there. So if you guys are wondering why you didn't get a notification for the stream today, it's because OnlyFans was in the title, and YouTube apparently, as soon as you put the word OnlyFans in the title of any video, even if it's like news about it, they just immediately set your video to 18 plus and only send notifications to accounts that are 18 plus and verified. So that's why we only have 327 users instead of the normal 600 or so.
Yeah.
And I still see people coming into chat constantly going, "Oh, I didn't get a notification. I didn't know you were streaming, dude. Where's the notification? I've been waiting for the notification." It's like, yeah, you're not going to get it because YouTube's AI decided without even, looking at the context in which I used the word, they're just immediately like, nope, if that word is used, then it's banned. Hide it from everybody.
Yeah.
God, I hate that. I need to figure out how to like everybody else just work around that system where it's like make sure that I know every single word that they're potentially going to take out of context. And
lonely pans with a space.
Lonely pans.
Yeah.
I just put a bunch of asterisks in it. But yeah, that's why, if you're wondering, that's why nobody's here today. But let's talk about the elephant in the room, old OnlyFans. If you guys don't know what OnlyFans is, you're either lying or you live in a convent somewhere.
Yeah.
OnlyFans is basically Patreon for adult content. From day one, it was always advertised as an adult content site. Their logo,
Doesn't My Free Cams own like a chunk of them?
They do, yeah. The same guy that created My Free Cams also created OnlyFans.
Yeah.
So OnlyFans, like everything about them is adult content, down to their logo, right? Their logo is literally a lock with, your Pornhub-esque graphics and fonts, and their entire webpage is nothing but scantily clad women across the border, right? I mean, and the whole thing is geared towards the adult industry. Well, now OnlyFans is coming out as of was yesterday or the day before, and they're like, oh, we're gonna go ahead and ban any sexual content off of our platform moving forward. And they claim that they're doing it because MasterCard, this is their claim that the MasterCard is requiring them to verify each thing before it's posted and have to look at every single little thing. Yeah,
I don't understand that and like I believe it. I believe that is the case because like their pinned tweet right now from just 2 hours ago says, the policy change was necessary to secure banking and payment services to support you.
It's actually bullshit.
And well, like I get because this happened with Pornhub in the past. They I think it was MasterCard,
and Visa, they both did it.
Started like blocking payments or something. They wouldn't process payments that were coming from that were like tagged as Pornhub or whatever. I don't understand that though. Like there's gangster money to be made. Like I don't understand why they would do that.
So MasterCard, first of all, MasterCard is only like somebody said it was like between 5 and 10% of their revenue stream on OnlyFans. So it makes a lot more sense to just ditch MasterCard in that situation than get rid of 95% of the people making money on your platform, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I didn't believe it. That's why I thought that this was a red herring. And it actually turned out to be a red herring because it turns out that OnlyFans made this announcement 24 hours after the BBC did an article on them. Showing that there was a ton of underage content being uploaded to the platform with people using fake IDs and fake verification steps. And they leaked some internal documents from the company that the BBC got a hold of that said that they were allowed to give multiple warnings and request that creators take down illegal content but allow them to stay on the platform. And it even said that allow more opportunities and more chances for fixes from people that bring in more money.
Yeah.
So the internal documentation basically showed that they were taking a soft stance on basically human trafficking, child exploitation, whatever you want to call it, as long as the person was generating enough revenue to look the other way. Now they would still tell them to like take it down, right? But they should have been banning the accounts. Like it should have been banned outright. Right. And so some of the speculation that came out of this is like, Bad Barbie, for instance, the lady that created her account on her 18th birthday and uploaded a bunch of illicit stuff.
Sure.
Well, how did she create, 1,000 photos and like 20 videos on her birthday? Obviously those videos were taken while she was still 17 years old or 16 years old, right? They were taken before she went live because there's no way she could have recorded all that and published it on the day of.
Yeah. Unlikely, but sure.
But again, but again, it raises like, some red flags, but she just gets warnings, right? If anything shows up that looks like she's too young or maybe the way she was dressed and it made her look too young, they just message her and say, take it down. Just take it down. It's fine. But they didn't like that the internal documentation that leaked basically said, give more opportunities for people that are making more money. Even if they're posting illegal content, give them more opportunities to fix it than lesser people or smaller people on the platform not making as much money. So it seems like that is the main reason, because this is literally after 24 hours after the BBC did their article. This is when OnlyFans is like, oh, MasterCard's requiring this now and stuff. Now, no doubt MasterCard probably leaned on him because of the reporting from the BBC. Yeah. But I think it's one of those things where it's like they know that Visa is going to come after him next. They know because it happened with Pornhub, and they know they're basically going to get all their payment systems are going to get pulled. But here's the thing. How do they survive? Like, just like Tumblr, that's why I put in the title. It's like, they're going the way of the Tumblr. How do they survive when the entire business model is built on that and you turn your back on all of those people and run them off your platform? Like, what is left? Is there enough there tangibly left to like float the platform? Like, is it still profitable enough to continue under that constraint?
Right.
And the other problem that you run into here is they said that they're going to allow nudity on the platform, but they're not going to allow any illicit nudity.
Yeah, well,
what does that mean?
Like, and that's the thing, right? It's like the original announcement said something like, what was it like? Oh, I can't remember the phrasing. We're banning sexually explicit, but not sexual content or something like that. Which I guess when I first saw that, I interpreted that as like, okay, so like you can't be doing like sex, right? Like you can't be like fucking your boyfriend or whatever, but like nudes are still okay. Is that how I originally interpreted that? But like now it's like it's fuzzy, right? It's like business vagueness so that they can just clamp down on anything they want, really.
No, and that's
anything
what I feel like. I feel like it's TikTok.
About.
Yeah, it's like the TikTok moderators, right? Where it just depends on who you get that day. It's like whoever looks at your content that day is going to make their call based on their own, their own biases. Because here, let me give you some examples. So what is artistic nudity? Like, it's going to mean something different to different people. I'm sure that Banksy artistic nudity is like somebody with a bowling pin in their cooter, right?
Yeah, whatever.
It's like whatever, and does that mean that, because a woman poses just like full frontal nudity, but isn't like spreading her legs or anything, that there isn't a bunch of dudes out there treating it like porn? You know what I mean? It's like, where's the line? Like, where's the specific definition? And they wouldn't offer any of that. And they claim that it's coming later. But they did say, They did said later that there was going to be a definition and you'd have to follow the guidelines, but they're not providing it right now. So it's like everybody on the platform scrambling and going, okay, so I post nudes, but like if my legs are open more than 20 degrees, does that go from artistic nudity to illicit? Yeah. If my hand is over that area, but not touching, but close to it, it's like exactly who decides.
It's no, I don't know. It feels very similar to, Twitch's rules.
Yeah.
Right.
It does feel like that, yeah.
You can play a game that's got nudity if that's not like the main like draw of the game, right? Because they'll ban some of those like visual novels and stuff. Yeah. But they kind of gave them like kind of a vague gray area for like body painting and stuff. But then it's like you've got, I don't know, it's just super weird. It's so vague and wiggly, and it's like, I don't know. I feel like at some point you just draw a line. You just say like, look, anything that could be interpreted this way is not okay. Or it needs to go into this place,
The weird thing is OnlyFans will always be associated with adult content though.
Yeah,
I mean, their logo is literally a lock. Yeah. The whole business model surrounds this, and they're trying to get away from it, but it's like, you can't do that, right? You're not going to just take like a chain of strip clubs and then turn it into like a Slider burger bar. Yeah, and keep the name and be like, okay, yeah, we're still going to succeed. It's like, I don't know what they think is going to end up happening here. Like, I don't think you're going to see a huge influx of people like racing over from Patreon, with their fishing videos and stuff like that to be on OnlyFans.
Yeah.
So I don't really know what the end game is. And I'm kind of surprised that they didn't, like, if it was a financial thing and they were worried about payment processors, there's a million crypto payment processors they could have moved to. They could have done the whole thing under crypto and just did like, dump right as you're getting it on board. So somebody pays with crypto and immediately cashes it out at whatever the value is and gives it to them. There's so many payment processors do that even like mini marts and shit are accepting crypto. Yeah. So they could have gone to crypto, but they didn't. And that's what leads me to believe that I think that it still has more to do with accounts that were uploading, like there being a lot of accounts that were uploading like underage content. So by underage too, also keep in mind that it's within the context of the country, right? You may have somebody from a country, like we found out yesterday, the age of consent in Japan is 13. Did you know that?
I did not.
Yeah, you can have sex with a 13-year-old in Japan. Like there's some places that have like region laws that frown on it, but no, for the country, I went through the countries and it's like, I did not believe Japan was on the list. At 13, you can consent to sexual activity. And I was like, whoa. I was like, so does that mean like in Japan, like if they publish something on OnlyFans, then that would be child porn in another country?
Yeah,
but not there.
And
it's
that's
like
weird too, right?
Or like UK has different rules on like when you can be nude in like say like film or TV or in what context you're nude versus when you're an actual adult.
Yeah.
And so there's all these like different rules, and I didn't realize it was a UK based company. That probably has something to do with it too. Because I know UK has been like really cracking down on a lot of stuff on the internet, like just in general, right? Like everything, people getting scammed, privacy stuff, data collection, all that stuff. They've been really, really hardcore going after it, more so than the United States. So that could also play into it too. But it's like there's so many blurred lines. We talked about this on my stream the other day. I was like, dude, how do we know? Like when you go to a site, right, and you're looking at stuff, like how do you know how old somebody is?
Yeah.
Like you just have their word, right? Like when they signed up the site, they're like, this is how old I am. You know, you can create a fake ID, you can steal a social security number, you can use your family's social security number. Like I used my dad's social security number when I was like 12 years old, like sell porn on MIRC.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you can do all these things to work around the system. So it's like all you have is like the word of somebody. And you don't even know if that somebody is the person that's in the picture or in the video. So I started like thinking about this, and it started like tumbling out of control in my head. And I'm like, really, we don't really know for sure, because there's people that are young that look old, and there's people that are old that look young. And so we need some kind of system in place going forward that's like traceable back to like the original consent, like almost like a certificate of authenticity associated with content that can't easily be faked, and then steep penalties for faking it. Because until you do that, it's just everybody's word, right? You can like, if you wanted to right now, you can take your pictures. Like if you back when you were 15 years old, you're in the gym locker room at school and you take, you know, a freaking wiener pic in the mirror. You could take that technically when you're 18 years old, upload it to the site and be like, oh, well, I'm 18. I can prove it. Here's my driver's license. Then upload a picture of yourself. And they're gonna be like, well, you look a little bit younger in that picture, but were you younger? When was this shot? Why isn't there metadata? You know what I mean? You start to think and you're like, man, do we really know like what exactly is legal and what isn't?
No, because
we don't. There's no way to.
And even then, it's like somebody's like, "Oh, common sense has got to come into play here." And it's like, well, your common sense isn't the same as someone else's.
Exactly.
So who decides?
It's subjective,
right?
Yep.
The rules are different in one place than another. So who decides? You know, like Jerry said, like, okay, if it's okay for a 16-year-old like to do this sort of stuff in the UK, but I'm here and it's not okay, like, do I get in trouble for accessing information that is there? You know, like where does jurisdiction lie?
Situation.
Like where does jurisdiction lie? Is it with the creator? Is it with where it's stored? Is it who the consumer? Like that goes for all kinds of stuff. Like if I turn my VPN on and I watch Netflix in Mexico that's got movies I can't watch in the US, I imagine that's copyright infringement. Like I imagine I'm breaking the law.
Yeah,
in a roundabout way, because it is denied to me here where I am existing, but it is okay over there. So whose jurisdiction am I in?
Yeah, the internet is like a global entity, right? It's like it used to be easy for us to stay within our borders, because as long as you were physically within those borders, you weren't really consuming anything external to those borders, right? You were within the context of that law. But now with the internet, it's like you really don't know where you're at, right? If you go to a website, you don't know if you're being offloaded to some server in Japan. What if your language is set to Japan, you know, and it connects you to the Japanese servers? And then like, what if you're Japanese and you're connecting and watching porn that's not censored? Because in Japan, it's illegal to show genitalia in porn because, you know, sexual repression. It's weird. It's like 13 age of consent is okay, but you can't show a cooter in porn. So they censor it. So what happens if they watch like foreign porn? Like, is that against the law now for them? Right. Because it wasn't censored. It's like, what do you do in this global world where every site is basically being populated by content that may be well within the legality of the jurisdiction that it's being posted from, meaning that person can't get in trouble because they're within their law. But then the site, depending on where it's hosted or the people where they're viewing it from, it just gets really weird. It's like, the more I think about this, I'm like, how do you create a system? It almost seems like you have to agree globally on stuff. Like we have to get to a point where it's like, it's not just, you know, here's the age here, here's the age there, here's the legality here. It needs to be like blanket.
Yeah.
Like, but how do you do that with a bunch of countries that don't like you? Like you don't, right? Nobody's going to agree on this stuff. So the more I think about it, because I tried to figure out like why OnlyFans would just like ditch 95% of their audience, like on a whim like this, just because of a payment processing problem, when there's a million ways to get the money, right? Obviously Cam sites are still around and stuff. They figured out how to get the money. CC Bill is like an intermediate, right? Which I think even OnlyFans was already using, right? So they were already offering insulation between MasterCard and Visa so they could have deniability. There's all these mechanisms there in play. Why like make such a drastic move right now? And the only thing that I can think of is because one, it's in the UK and they're cracking down on this stuff like really, really hard across the board. Yeah. Two, I think it has more to do with illegal content being uploaded than it ever did with the payment processors. Three, it's they're being very vague. So who stays and who goes? Right. Like my friends, I have friends that are on that platform that do cosplay and artistic nudes. But again, what's considered artistic? Because some of their nudes you might be able to see from the backside. You might be able to see what is side boob versus front boob. What is considered artistic versus illicit? Yeah. Right. They don't define those terms. So it's the people that relied on that platform to make their living are kind of up in the air right now. They don't really know what's going to happen. Right. And it's going to be if you upload something and they decide, nope, that's too illicit or whatever, and they delete it too many times. Now they're even cracking down and it's going to be no, we're just going to delete your account because we already got in trouble for giving so much leniency. Now it's anything you fuck up, you're just gone. So I don't think this ends well for a lot of people. And the reason why I want to talk about this, the reason that I really want to talk about this is because there's so many people that try to demonize sex workers and the sex industry, even though every single one of you motherfuckers participates in it behind closed doors in one way or another. The thing is it's empowering to people to be able to control their own destiny. Just like I can sit at home and do a live stream like this. It is safer for me to do this in my own room where I control the variables and I choose who stays and who goes than me having to go to a building where a bunch of people are watching me do it and controlling me doing it, can take my money away and take you guys away and prevent me from reaching anybody. It is safer for me to do this. For sex workers, it is literally a safe thing. By you getting rid of the middleman and getting rid of pimps and getting rid of skeezy nightclubs, or not nightclubs, but strip clubs and stuff like that, by making those less desirable, you're actually protecting people. Yeah,
it's like the war on drugs, right?
Yeah, that went well.
It's like there's a lot of evidence to show that at a minimum decriminalizing it, many, and look, I get it, there is a drug problem, okay,
absolutely,
but a lot of the big scary stuff that they point at as to why this is a bad thing is because it's illegal, right? It's because you're punishing these actions. And when a lot of it is based in mental health problems, right? The reason, especially the sex working thing, the prostitution, right? Where there's victims of prostitution, right? These poor women are pimping and beat up and abused and this and that, and it's because it's illegal. Look at marijuana. Okay.
Yep. Oh, this is the greatest example. Okay. Go. Yeah.
Marijuana is now legal in Washington.
Yep.
I know people who made a chunk. They made their living selling weed. They paid their rent, they paid their bills, they were productive members of society in a black market, right? When drugs were bad. It's legalized and that supports a whole mix of bad stuff, right? It's legal now. Black market fell apart. They were scrambling. I mean, they probably work at the pot shops now, or at the farms or whatever. But a lot of that now, a lot of the ancillary problems that come with drug dealing are not a problem anymore. I don't have to worry as a consumer. I don't have to worry. Is my weed laced with PCP? Yeah. Is it got, not that that's ever happened to me, but I've heard of this happening. I don't know why you would do that as a dealer. That seems
to addict somebody wasteful. Heavily, so they have to come back and get yours.
You're wasting money, right? I don't know. To me, that seems silly. But now that it's legal, I have a multitude of choice. I know brands that I like. I know there's consistent quality. If there's a regulation to it, I'm not going to. I know what I'm getting every time, and that sort of thing. There's no reason why it couldn't be the same for say prostitution. If there were, house like brothels like they do in Nevada, right? They kind of it's like a wink wink sort of nudge sort of thing. Or pornography. The porn industry is prostitution. Like, I don't see how that's any different just because there's a camera, but they self-regulate to an extreme. Like, there's all kinds of paperwork involved. There's all kinds of testing that they do to make sure everybody is good. Yep. And that's all self-regulated. Like, nobody's telling them to do, STD testing before videos and this and that. I mean, maybe there's some rules. I know there's like paperwork you have to file to make sure everybody's of age and all that sort of a thing. I know the feds are involved in at least to that extent, but like, if you could just go down to fucking Hooters or Jimmy's, Jimmy's House of Sluts or whatever, and pay, and it's again, what you're getting. There would be fans. You would have women or men or whatever, either way, who are famous for it. Like there's no reason why you couldn't have a courtesan who's just as wildly famous as any other actress. It's like,
once it's not stigmatized, it's the stigmatization that makes it bad,
and it removes all those ancillary bad things. Like,
it's just like alcohol, dude. It's just like prohibition. It's the same thing like with marijuana is the prohibition. It's like, as soon as you made alcohol illegal, then it became illicit. People were getting blind. People were making it like really terrible. They were running from cops, shooting out things. Fucking, it was a war, right?
Yeah.
Because it became an illicit drug. And then if you got blind because you drank some bad hooch, you can't go to the cops and report it. You can't stop other people from going blind because you're going to just get arrested and thrown in jail. Same thing with prostitution, right? You make it illegal. They can't go if they get beat up by somebody and robbed on the street and they go to the cops, they're going to be like, well, what were you doing? Like, oh, you were okay. Well, we'll go get him, but we're also going to throw you in jail for breaking the law. You know what I mean? It's when you stigmatize something like that, you basically create the danger around it.
Yeah.
And that's why we didn't do prohibition anymore. We learned that was a big fucking mistake. And we never learned, and we supposedly learned our lesson, but honestly, we did the same thing with weed, right? Yeah. And now we're coming out of that, and it's like, and it's lawless weed comes in.
And years ago, people were like, "Oh, it'll just create a whole society of degenerates, and everybody's going to be just fucking addicts and blah blah blah." No, like, we're violent crime is at an all-time low. I think I was just arguing with somebody on a different topic, but I looked up the local sheriff, the Washington State Sheriff's Association puts out a report every year on like crime statistics and stuff.
Yeah.
And violent crime is down like 20%. Which was kind of weird because like homicide is actually up 3%. But generally overall violent crime, like assaults and things like that, are down across the board. And part of that, I'm sure, is because pandemic, people are like locked up in their homes and things, or unable to report on some of this stuff. But at the same time, like, what comes to mind is a line actually from I think it was one of the Marvel movies. They're like talking. One guy's talking to the senator dude, and like, and Captain America comes in, and the senator dude is like, "Oh, you have to arrest this guy. They're fucking criminals." And he's like, "Dude, they're only criminals because you made a law that like because you made them criminals."
Yeah.
And that's the thing, right? Like if they're only bad people because the rules are such that they make them bad people. They make them criminals because the law is there. They're criminals, but they aren't necessarily bad people, right? There's a distinction there. And that's where I'm like, if some of this stuff, especially the sex work thing, it's a consensual arrangement, or it could be a more positive consensual arrangement. Like, I understand the way that it is now. There's abuse and it's bad, right? But like, if there was a place that you could go, like I said, a brothel, right? I wouldn't want them to continue being out on the streets and that sort of thing. That just brings in a whole lot of other problems. You get snatched up or whatever. But like, if there was a place to go where that's your job, no different than a strip club, why not? There's an understanding,
bro.
Yeah, there's an understanding. There's and it could be I mean, you see it a lot in different medias, like books and things, where like that is the thing. Like some dude steps out of line, comes to the brothel, pays to see, you know, Jessica or whatever, and he gets a little out of sorts. Then, you know, then Tank, the fucking bouncer, throws him out the window. Like
the thing is, if it wasn't illegal, so that this is how it would play out, right? Is because it's illegal, it means that human trafficking can step in, just like in prohibition, the alcohol runners, right? The still guys, they step in and fill the gap, right?
Yeah.
But the problem is you can't go to the police because you're in an illicit profession. As soon as you're not in an illicit profession, not only do you have better conditions and regulations, you can call the cops if some dude comes in and starts doing some shit. Or is it you call the cops, they come and arrest him and carry him off, and you got, you know, you follow the rules, you have a clean environment, everything was done the way that it was supposed to. It's like, and if anything gets broken suit from that, they can have the police file charges and arrest that person.
It's no different than like the rules say I can't touch a stripper.
Yeah,
like that's the rules, 3 feet or whatever, right? I don't know, but and if I do,
I think it's different everywhere.
And if I do, I get in trouble. Same deal. Like you signed up for the you know, the happy handy job, right? And you try to push for more for not pay for it. Well, now you broke the rules. You get the fuck out of here, man. It's assault. Like I don't know. It's just,
and you could call the cops, which you couldn't do before. So you had to rely on some dude, you know, named Bebo, you know, who's got, you know, Bebo and his Glock to like protect you and take 60% of everything you earn and smack you around. Like that's not good.
I guarantee, like that's, man. Oh, Far Cult. You're thinking more like Westworld, sort of thing. Westworld. There's a show. There may have been a movie, something similar, but that kind of a
documentary on like them actually building like sex robots that are like way more advanced,
real dolls kind of thing.
Well, like real dolls, but animated.
Sure,
like can move their face, got speakers and stuff, and they're not like terribly realistic. But that's just it. Is a lot of these people don't just want sex; they want some feeling of companionship, even if it's artificial. And so they were showing like some of the benefits. Like one of the cool stats is in Amsterdam. In Amsterdam, where they've decriminalized hard drugs and prostitution is legalized, right? Within it's regulated though, right? I mean, you have to have a clean place. They're not just out on the street doing it. But because of that, they have a much lower suicide rate and they have a lower crime rate overall. Now, you could argue the lower crime rate is because it used to be high because they were arresting everybody that had drugs on them, regardless of whether they were committing a crime.
Yeah,
exactly. But the other thing too is it's like, think about the other things that come with that. If you're somebody who you're just too awkward or you just socially don't like being around people, it doesn't make you like need sex any less, right? It's like companionship on some level, right? It's a biological right. On some level, and some people aren't going to be able to get that comfortably any other way than like actually paying for it or having a mutually beneficial relationship with somebody where they get something in exchange for giving you that, right? That's the whole thing. I mean, it being mutually beneficial is the most important thing here. But you have people like I think it was maybe, do we have anybody in here who lives in Amsterdam? I'm trying to figure out if it's Amsterdam or it was somewhere else, because they talked about it on Penn and Teller bullshit where there's this where the state in one of these countries, the state actually has an allowance of an escort or a prostitute to come have sex with disabled people that like have their missing limbs and stuff. The state actually pays for somebody to come have an encounter with them once a month. It's actually a benefit, just like Social Security or whatever. And it's like Denmark ridiculously reduced the suicide rate and made these people much happier and much more productive. So it's a wildly successful program. And the thing is, it's like Uber, you know, for these like prostitutes that drive to the house, and it's like they know the clients. It's all arranged by the state. There's nobody's anonymous. Everything's known, license numbers, all that stuff. So it's a very like going and getting a massage kind of thing, right?
Yeah, it's
very normal there, but the state pays for it, and what it does is it actually keeps the people a lot healthier. These people, it keeps them active, it keeps them healthy. The suicide rate's down because obviously when somebody commits suicide, that ends up becoming a huge cost to the state. So it ended up making things a lot better overall, like this one little change. But in this country, they're like, oh, this is just normal. Like when they were talking about like on Penn and Teller, it's like, no, like this, why isn't it like this everywhere? Like this isn't an illicit place. This isn't like a dirty place. It's not like everybody always associates this shit with like crime ridden. It's like, I guarantee you know more people that do drugs than don't do drugs. You just don't know about it because it's illegal and they have to hide that shit.
Yeah.
You know, it's like me growing up. It cracked me up because my parents used to grow weed. And every single person they knew, all their kids, everybody, there was like this inner group where we all knew what our parents did. We all did anything. But if anybody was outside of that group, that we hid it from them, like meticulously. They never know, never in a million years, never put them in a situation because there was too much liability there. And so growing up, like even one of my best friends didn't know about it when I was a kid. Later on, I told him about like what was going on. And he's like, oh man, yeah, that totally makes sense. Cause every once in a while he smelled things and stuff and he had suspicions, but he never really knew. But again, he wasn't on the inner circle, so you couldn't tell him. So it was just hidden. But it blew my mind, the people that I knew, like high school teachers, dude, college professors, police officers, everybody.
Yeah, hang out in front of a pot shop for a couple hours and you'll see how all kinds of different folk who and I guarantee every single one of those people coming in through that door was buying it on the street 5, 6, 7, 10 years ago, whatever. They just were better about it. You know, they hid it, and now they don't have to be weird about it.
Absolutely. I just think that I think humans are weird because we just accept things as normal. Because somebody else laid it out that way, and it's always been that way. Like if it ain't broke, don't fix it, kind of thing, right? It's like just don't think about it. But a lot of this shit is like ridiculously counterintuitive because you have all these people that stand up and they're like, oh yeah, porn is bad, and it's like it's terrible for women and everything. Oh, just a bunch of bullshit that was programmed into them, and they spout out themselves. But then behind closed doors, they're looking at it themselves. It's like the people that are like, oh, you shouldn't pirate movies. And then they go have the biggest pirated movie collection you've ever seen. Right. It's like everybody says publicly that they tote the line, right? Everybody publicly wants to be accepted into the group and be like, oh, yeah, I don't do that. No, blah, 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 blah. But then behind closed doors and like with their closest friends and everything, it's like a completely different story. If this wasn't true, there is no way the porn industry would be as profitable as it is today, being as pirated as it is. Yeah, it's literally the most pirated content on the planet. No police force anywhere that I know of in the United States protects the people that make it. Like they always, if you can pirate the shit out of that, you're never gonna have an officer come bang on your window from the MPAA trying to sue you for downloading porn, unless it was from like, I don't know, like one of the big movie houses or something. It's just not gonna happen, right? It's stigmatized still, so people don't do it. So it's the most stolen content, and despite all that, it is still the most profitable like industry on planet Earth. So that tells you that literally everybody, your dad, your brother, your uncle, I'm sorry to be the one to break it to you, but every single one of them has, at some frequency, looked at some kind of pornographic content in one frame or another. And that's why that industry is so freaking strong. But publicly, we all maintain. Actually, this reminds me of like a great. God damn it, I gotta pee again. Hold on a second. When I get back, I got a great story for you guys before we end the show today. But this will be a great parallel because I think this is one everybody's gonna be able to relate to. And it has to do with how we acted around our friends when we were younger. And if we could go back and talk to our younger selves, like what things would have changed. This will be crazy. I'll tell you about it. This is a funny story. You guys can have a laugh at my expense. I'll be back in just a second. Oh, I hate 41-year-old bladder. Gotta pee.
What up? Yeah, sound like a bit of a USA problem being prudent. Yeah, that's true. It has a lot to do with the Puritan sort of background of the United States. I think I'd be 99% more cheaper workers company. Yeah, right. It'd go a long way, I'm sure. I don't know, man. It's really weird. There's no I hesitate to say I don't see the harm in it, but I do see that where it can be addictive, right? A lot of just about anything really that makes you feel good is it can be addictive, but it's like, man, sexual health super skim because nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to look at it. It's taboo. It's fucking weird. You guys could have a laugh at my expense. Thought that
almost didn't make it.
What the channel was all about. Oh,
almost didn't make it, bro. Woo. My bad.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just super weird. I just read the articles in Playboy Mag. Sure. Which hey, in the past, I don't know what they're up to now, but when I was a kid, there was legit good writing in there. Some of the interviews and stuff were actually really good. So it wasn't just for beauties. It was pretty cool.
Actually, fun story is Playboy was really, really big in civil rights.
Sure.
Like a lot of the stuff that they did for mistreatment of Black people, mistreatment of other minorities, oppression of women. They wrote article after article after article in those magazines, like fighting against those things, those stereotypes.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
So not a bad magazine. Hold on.
Bless you.
Oh man, it's stuck. Oh, I hate that. Come on, Hart. It's okay. I got a defibrillator right here if I need it. So here, let me tell this story, and I want to see if anybody else in here can relate to this, because I was joking with my buddy Jake, who I grew up with. We've known each other since we were 4 years old, and we grew up our whole childhood together, all the way up until, our entire lives, really. Like, if you think about our entire lives, we've always been around in the same area, more or less. And he even lived with my family for a period of time in his teens, and we both went and got our GEDs together and everything. Yeah. But we talk about like our childhood. We like to reminisce about our childhood because we were around all the same people, all the crazy situations. Mm-hmm. Our families were both like alcoholics and drug addicts and stuff when we were exposed to like all kinds of skeezy shit, right? So we joke around about this stuff. But one of the stories we talked about just a couple of days ago, we were going back and forth on Messenger, and it reminded me of kind of like this whole mentality of we publicly try to agree with each other, but behind closed doors do something different, right? Yeah. Because everybody wants to belong, right? Everybody wants to like be a part of the group. Like, oh, I'm boycotting Apple. And then you like leave the protest and go buy a phone at the other Apple store, because you're like, oh, it doesn't matter. It's just one person. Well, it reminded me of a story from my childhood, which is me and my friend Jake, we grew up on this road called JH Road, and we had a mutual neighbor who was a friend of ours, another kid. And he had a sister who was like, I think she was a year older than us. And this is when we were probably, like 11 or 12, somewhere in there, right? So we were like definitely at the puberty age was hitting, right? And we both had a crush on our friend's sister, but you can't say that because it's your friend's sister, right? Right. So you can't have a crush on your friend's sister. So what we did is we all went back and forth going, oh, she's gross, and teasing her and stuff and saying, oh, gross, I wouldn't do that. And she'd always want to hang out with us and do stuff. And we'd be like, no, we don't want you to hang out with us, blah, blah, blah. But the truth is later on, now that we grew up and we're talking to each other, it was all bullshit and showboating for the other person. And we all actually thought the same thing, but we acted against our own interest. Yep. So like, for instance, I had a crush on her. He had a crush on her. She had a crush on him. So they would have ended up like having some kind of relationship. Later on, she had a crush on him for years, but every single time he couldn't act on it because if I was around, which was all the time, we were always around, be like, ew, she's gross, man. I wouldn't want her. No, I wouldn't touch her. Ew, sick. And then we both got like super depressed when I think it was like when we were like 14, she ended up dating another guy that moved into the neighborhood who wasn't in our clique. Yeah. And then at that point we finally leveled with ourselves. And it's like, damn, man, I'm gutted. Like, and then she ended up telling the brother that she had a huge crush on my friend Jake. And that's why she always wanted to hang around all the time. And he had to pass on that because he thought that I wanted to hear that, oh, ew, she's gross. And he expected that from me. So we basically both lied to each other for like 2 years because it was our friend's sister. And in the end, we both ended up losing, like completely across the board. And then we started thinking about like going back, and it's like we did this for all kinds of stuff when we were kids. Like anytime you saw something that was like, ooh, that's exciting, you would immediately do the opposite because you like didn't want to play your hand. Yep. Right. It was like you were always playing poker. And I don't know. Does anybody else in here like have memories like this from their childhood where they're like, man, I really want to play that video game, but it's on the wrong video game console that we rip on all the time. So, oh, that's shitty. I wouldn't play that game with your fingers, Yeah. It's like, but the whole time inside, you're just thinking, man, I would really love to do that, but I can't show that because then I'll get teased by the other kids. But what you don't realize is the other kids are teasing you, even though they want to do it themselves. And you basically all back the entire group into a situation where it's like, I wish I had a time machine and I could just go back and like tell younger me, be like, you fucking idiot, just do what makes you happy. Stop caring about what everybody else thinks, because it turns out that you're all on the same exact page and you're all misleading each other and trying to throw each other off the scent. Yep. Oh, so damn annoying, dude. Yeah. So damn annoying.
I still see that from like, the kids around me. Yeah. Even like, oh, I can't wear that because it's not cool. And it's like, well, who decides? Like,
yeah, it's like they try to read each other, but they get it all wrong.
Yeah, and it's like you're just trying to look cool to your buddies, and it's like, if you were to just break the mold a bit, like you'd be the cool one because like, what the fuck do I care? I think it looks cool.
Yeah, it's like even my wife today. There were so many times in school that I wanted to ask her out on a date, but I was like, I'm way out of her league, like, or she's way out of my league, right? Yeah. I'm like, here I am, dude, just come to school, cracking jokes. I had more girlfriends than guy friends at school, and I ran in their clique, but I was like everybody's best friend, and I didn't want to ruin that, so I never asked her out. And then I find out later on that she was basically just waiting for me to ask her out forever, and then she figured I just wasn't interested.
Man, a similar, a little different, but I think related. I had a bit of a crush on this gal in high school, like a little one. Like I was interested, is all. Sure. Right? I wasn't like, oh my gosh. And I told some buddies, and somehow or another, it got around back to her that like I liked her, and she come up to me and like put the quash on it, like no, like don't do that. And I think it was to save face with her her friend group. Yeah, it completely changed the dynamic, and it's weird. And I think in part because like I was the weird kid, I was kind of a goofy, nerdy kid. Mm-hmm. But like we all had kind of mutual friends, right? We all kind of crossed over with different groups of people.
Yep.
And I just think that Houston likes you, like that's fucking weird. And so,
she's thinking in her head, like, Houston likes me, yay! Until her friends are like telling her, and then her friends probably were India too, and they were like, "Oh, we don't want her dating him, so we're gonna sabotage this shit right in the butt,"
Maybe at least I don't know. Like I feel like there could have been a chance there, but like it just got weird like right away.
It's just sad that we do that as humans, and I think that for kids it happens way more. Like as you get older, you don't do it as much. You still do it, but you don't do it as much. But I even see like my son Xander, he'll look at me when I'm talking to him, and he's not thinking about telling me the truth 90% of the time. He's watching my facial expressions, and he's trying to gauge what he needs to say to get out of the situation.
Yeah.
Like, it's not about like, hey, Xander, did you break the thing? And the answer won't be yes or no. It'll be like reading my face, like he's doing like a jet, like looking through my soul and analyzing. And then it'll be like, I'm just, dude, just tell me, like, you're not in trouble. Okay, fine. I did break it. Okay, cool. That's all I wanted to know. Yeah. But it's like, he wants to figure out what he needs to say to make me happy.
Right.
And that's dangerous. Like when you do that, like as a kid, it's like, if all you do is want to make other people happy, and then they're stuck in the same situation where all they want to do is make you happy, you're all going to go 180 degrees off of what will actually make you happy and just play everything safe.
Super weird.
And it's so bizarre. But yeah, me and my friend, we reminisce about our childhood all the time. And that was like one of the funniest ones. And then later on when we were, because we didn't learn the first time around, obviously, when I was 16, I got my driver's license, and I drove down to their house, and his dad had remarried. And so he got two stepsisters basically that came into the equation. And I had a huge crush on one of the stepsisters when I was really young. And again, it was one of those things where it's like, we were friends, right? We were friends. We hung out and did all kinds of stuff, but I could tell that, like, I thought that my friend Jake was jealous that I was spending any time with him at all when I was coming over to see him. Right.
Yeah.
And so I was like, no, he's my bro, So I'm like, so I started being like, yeah, no, I'm not, I don't really want to hang out. I don't really want to do this. And then she got like offended and thought that I was just like, being rude and mean to her. And so she walks away. And then later on, like years and years and years later, I'm talking to my 20s, me and Jake are talking back and forth about it. And he's like, yeah, why didn't you ever hook up with my stepsister like back in the day or whatever? Like, I thought you were into her. And I was like, dude, I was into her. And he's like, no, dude, you like brushed her off and she was pissed off and never wanted to see you again. Like, what did you do? And I was like, I did what I thought you wanted me to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, oh my God, you son of a bitch. I want to stab you. But it was one of those things where it's like, just when you're kids, you self-sabotage, man.
Oh, yeah.
Like constantly. So I almost wish that I could go back in time. I don't want to, because I love how my life turned out, but I would love to go back and just whisper in my ear and just say, listen, dude, stop like going 180 degrees from everything that you actually want to do, and stop trying to be cool. And instead, like, lead by example and actually get what you want and be happy. And then maybe everybody else will pick up on that instead of trying to just like railroad themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, that was like rough growing up. That whenever we were around our friends, it's like any girl would come anywhere near us, be like, ew, oh gross, like, oh cooties, not really that bad, but you know what I mean? Like, oh, we're not gonna hang out with her. Oh, she's just a girl, and like all of us are thinking the same thing. Like, oh my god, I'd love to go out with her. I want to take her to the movie. Oh man, wouldn't that be great to snuggle up on the couch and watch a Disney movie? But every one of us is like, no, ew, get out of here. You know, it's just. And then you think you're doing it for the benefit of the other person, and they think they're doing it for the benefit of you. So you're both actually like, if you just did the first thing that came to your mind, you'd both be on the same wavelength. So weird, man. So weird but so yeah, if you're watching this and you know, and you're a parent and you see your kids doing this shit, just remind them, be like, this will come back and bite you later on. Like act on your emotions and your wants and desires. Don't try to please everybody.
It's hard though, because they don't.
It is. Well, especially when popularity plays in and all that. Yeah,
it's hard to believe it when the currency is like your social status.
Yeah. And I hate to say it, but like social media is making it so much worse than even school, because at least from school you could escape it. Like with school, you could go home at the end of the day and have a break, or you could go and hang out like in person with your real friends away from all the people that are attacking you.
Yeah.
And I feel like with social media, it's like, as long as you have that phone in your pocket or you have it in your hand facing your face, you are literally just being exposed to the worst of the worst all the time.
It's true.
And the thing is I know this about kids, because even you know, I'm just a big kid myself, but I know this because when you see people that don't like you or people that are being mean to you or angry at you, it's like your first inclination is like you want to please them.
Yeah.
Even if they're, and I've noticed this, like when I was younger, as you get older, you stop giving a shit as much. But like when I was younger, I remember that it's like, why does somebody not like me? And then I would spend an absorbent amount of energy trying to make them like me. And it's like, why am I wasting any time on this person that doesn't like me when there's so many other people that do like me?
Right.
And that still translates today. I still do the same thing today. And I feel like social media really, really leans into that heavily, where it goes out of its way to try to make sure that the things that affect you emotionally the most are front and center. And they don't really take into account whether they're negative or positive, just anything that gets a reaction.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And unfortunately, the things that get a reaction more than anything are the negative things. And I think what we're doing is we're just building a generation of angry kids. You know, we're gonna literally have this generation of angry kids where it's like none of them really get along, and everything's fake and everything's fabricated because they're trying to fake it till they make it. You know, in every single relationship, and you have nothing's genuine. Everything is just fake. And that's where I feel like we're headed, honestly. Like in the next 10 years, we're going to see the ripple effect of all these kids growing up on TikTok, becoming adults. And if you think the Karens are bad right now, just wait until you get to the kids that literally were like grown up with 400,000 people every day telling them that they're either the most beautiful person on earth or a whore and should kill themselves. You know what I mean? It's like, that's going to do psychological damage that we don't see. We haven't seen the full brunt of it yet. Like we're just seeing it, you know, now we're in the generation over the last, say, 5 or 10 years where people are coming in that aren't that technology adept. You know, it's like now they can use stuff and communicate and use all these things without having to know how to install IRC and do MSI installers and scripting. So you have people that are just regular people using it. And it's becoming accessible to younger people, right? Because younger people all have cell phones. Like when I was a kid, I didn't walk around with a fucking $10,000 Motorola flip or a Motorola brick. You know, when I was 10 years old. Now everywhere you look, it's like I drive through my town and I see kids just walking around, like groups of like girls that can't be older than 11 years old, like 5 or 6 of them walking around, all heads down on their cell phones, walking through like the skeezy part of town.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where the fuck are their parents? Like, what are they doing? And they're on these phones. What are they doing on these phones?
That's really not much different than it was back in the day. I mean, me and my group of friends were walking around parts of town and stuff. Like, just because the phone wasn't in our hand doesn't mean we weren't up to stuff that maybe we shouldn't have done.
That's true. That's true. I just think the phones kind of extend how much damage it can do to you. Like for instance, let me give you an example. When we were kids, you'd walk by and huck a rock through somebody's window, right?
Sure.
Okay, seriously, I did that.
Yeah, I mean,
I got in trouble. I had to pay for it and fucking work on the weekends.
Same.
But you know, huck a rock through a window because like you want to like impress your buddy. Like, look, I'll do something you can't do. Basically, that was like the early Logan Paul days without a camera. Your friend was the camera. He was your audience, right? You were a YouTuber. He was your audience. So you do it and then you get punished for it. Well, now you got all these kids with these cell phones that are running around. So it's like everything gets blown up instantly and everybody knows about it.
Yeah.
So it's like you got your phone and now you don't just throw a rock through the window. You record it and put it on TikTok. Now it becomes evidence in your trial. Then it follows you for 20 years. You try to get a job when you're 40 years old and they're like, oh, aren't you that kid that fucking memed a rock through the window or whatever? And it's like their life is basically fucked up and ruined because of a fucking cell phone.
And I do think that highlights an issue. People like there was like a rash of it fairly recently of like people digging up old stuff.
Yeah,
10,
that makes
10 12 years ago, man. Like I'm not that guy anymore. I'm not that person. And it is totally, and there are people out there that's like their whole like reason for living is to fucking dig up some one tweet or one shitty video and just to try and ruin somebody. And that's not okay. And I think we're still like need to shift. We need to shift that mentality where like, I don't know, because it isn't fair. It just isn't fair.
It isn't. I'll give you, you know what? I'll out myself right now. I did a lot of stuff when I was a kid that if it was in today's culture and it was videotaped and it was on video, I mean, I would never live it down. My life would have been ruined. It's like, I literally learned because kids used to get to learn from their mistakes. Now they get defined by their mistakes. So it used to be like, you know, growing up, you'd make a mistake and you would learn from it, right? And you would grow. But the problem is you're not allowed to learn and grow from it anymore because it's applicable even when you're 80 years old. Because everything on the internet stays on the internet. And that's why I'm glad that, you know, when I grew up, I was like, you know, when I was a teenager, it was in the 90s, the early 90s. And and so, or I should say like 93 through 2000 or whatever, right? So that was my sweet spot. Back then, the internet was dial up. Nobody really knew what computers, like the average person didn't understand what a modem was. It was during that time where, and nobody had cameras, right? Back then, the smallest camera you had was like shoulder mounted and had a car battery on it. So there was no real way to like publish any of this stuff. It's just an average person. You'd have to be a production house, right? So because of that, a lot of the stuff that I did as kids were just known by the people that were affected by it. And we learned and we grew from those mistakes. Now you fast forward today and it's like, you know, a kid does something like huck a rock through the window and the neighbor records it on video and it becomes a fucking meme. And then the memes now throwing a rock, this kid throwing a rock through the window is literally like synonymous with like every bad thing there is a meme response. Then it shows up in a fucking game like Fortnite or something as like a special dance, like throwing a rock through the window dance. And this person can never get away from it, ever. It follows them for the rest of their life. They're basically the Gerber baby or whatever. You know what I mean? They never, ever escape it. And the thing about humans is if you can never escape something, you can never, basically like repent for it and fix yourself.
Yeah.
Then what reason have you got to be good? Zero. You eventually will just become a bad person. I'm not saying in all cases, but I'm just saying if you have no option, if you cannot recover from it, it's like, listen, when you were 15 years old, you exposed yourself to a dog in a park and somebody took a video of it, you know, or you peed on a dog or something like that in a park thinking you were being funny and somebody recorded that. You know, you're never gonna be able to recover from that. No matter what you do, you could apologize for it. You could grow from it. You could even become an advocate for like the company that's against shit like that. You could do everything in your power. And every single time somebody's like losing an argument or doesn't like what you have to say, they're just going to paste that.
Yeah.
Over and over again. It's going to beat you over the head. And your only way out is basically either suicide or just embrace it and be a bad person. And I think that's terrible. I think that's fucked up.
You're always going to be a villain to some people. Like there's no avoiding that. No matter how good you are. Like it doesn't matter. If somebody's going to think that you're a bad person and whatever, fine. It doesn't really affect me. It's just what bothers me is like it doesn't seem like there's ever room to improve.
That's
or to like
you can never escape your mistake.
It's one thing to be like, oh, I think maybe a good example. I haven't dug real deep into it, but is like James Gunn. Right. Mm-hmm. He got in a lot of social trouble for some of the things that he posted on Twitter like 10 years ago or something. Thankfully, I think he kind of came out of that okay. Like he did
compared to most. He came out a lot better.
Kind of got in trouble with Marvel, I think, but they brought him back after a little while because like it's really not that bad. But it's another to be like what is it? Like James Charles or this other guy that's kind of in his circles.
I know who you're talking about. I can't remember his name, but yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Snap, because that's the one I'm really more thinking about. Is the other guy?
Yeah, the super normal looking dude, just like kind of plain Jane looking dude. I can't remember his name.
It'll be people also search for here. Maybe somebody in chat will get up to it eventually, but I'm sure I'll find it here.
Sorry to hear that, Dan. He lost his mate to suicide yesterday. Yeah,
damn, dude.
Suicide has been up a lot because of
no, not David Dobrik, but that's Shane Dawson is the guy.
Dawson is who
Shane Dawson. That's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah.
So he got called out a while back, and I think James Charles has as well, and Jeffree Star, right? This is very similar circles. Got called out for like grooming young or just talking in a bad way to young folk.
Yeah.
And like there was one thing that come out about it, and they got in trouble, blah blah blah, canceled, blah blah blah, whatever. And they come out and say, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm going to try and be better." And then like a couple of years later, like got caught doing it again, like the same kind of shit, and then tried to cover it. Oh, well, they never told me that he was only 16. And I think I'm sure I'm conflating both like scandals, because it's been the same. They're both basically doing the same thing. Because now I'm seeing like a timeline of James Charles allegations and controversies from May.
Yeah.
But
there's learning from your mistakes, and then there's just repeating them over and over and over again. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm all for people being able to learn from their mistakes, but no, if you keep making the same mistake every single time you get another opportunity, then you're never.
It's not hard, right? Like they're trying to say, "Oh, I didn't know he was 16." I'm like, dude, this one was James Charles. That now that I'm thinking about it more,
he knew
it was talking some explicit stuff with a 16-year-old boy on TikTok, and it's like, dude, if you at all looked at this kid's profile, like he's a kid, like you can't tell me you didn't know. Oh well, he didn't tell me. Cancel culture sucks and needs to stop. Need to stop trying to cancel everyone. See, I've gone down this path a few times. That is a gross exaggeration, and you're seeing it as a bigger thing than I think it really is.
We got to stop bucketizing things, because the problem is anytime you bucketize something, everybody decides to throw their shit in the pail. Like that. Seriously, this always happens. Anytime you do that, right? It's like a good example of this would be like Black Lives Matter, for instance, right? Really well intentioned, really good, but then you have a bunch of like bad people start using it.
Sure.
Right? They start attaching themselves to it because they're like, oh, it already has street cred, so let's go ahead and attach ourselves onto it. Yeah. And that happens with everything. Same thing with the Me Too movement. Really, really well intentioned. Like the idea behind it is to draw attention to sexual abuse and people that were silenced, right? But then you have a bunch of like really terrible people like grabbing onto it and using it as a weapon against people that didn't do anything and actually did the right things. You start just putting them in the bucket too. Like, oh, like I love during that whole thing, I probably got a million messages saying, because you have a penis, you're born a sexual predator.
Yeah. Right.
Like, I'm like, fuck you, lady. Like, seriously. Okay. Because I was born with a penis, I'm a sexual predator. Okay. I guess since you were born with a vagina, what does that make you? Like,
I do think that it gets blown out of proportion sometimes. Like, it's one thing to highlight, like, how do I put this? I guess, I don't know, man. And it's weird because like society changes, right? Like, jokes and stuff. Like it's been talked about, like you couldn't do, that one movie with, Robert Downey Jr. in blackface. Right?
Yeah, you couldn't do that. Yeah, Tropic Thunder.
You couldn't do that today. Yep. And again, like looking back, there's maybe a valid argument as to like, okay, that's weird and insensitive. That might not be a very good example because like there's a context thing there where like that was the joke, was like this guy was so like his method acting was so outrageous that like right. And so some of the context there is missing. But that actually happened. Like they tried to like shit all over Robert Downey Jr. for doing that part, and it's like, look, you got it out. You for one, out of context. Like you got to watch the movie. Like there's a point. There's a reason why he was doing that, and the whole point was to satirize this extreme method acting sort of thing. And like they kind of pointed out like this is fucking weird and like you in the movie, like it's not supposed. This is formula. Bad.
Yeah.
And like it failed, of course, because it's just fucking dumb. But it's like at certain times in history, they were socially acceptable to do and say certain things. Looking back through the lens, your perception of today, and it is one thing to say, man, that was at the time, like maybe that was okay, but looking at it now, like, man, that was really bad. Like I understand that maybe that was okay then, but like, man, that's bad. That's bad.
You have like to look slavery, at it through the context of the time. You can't, if you're going to look at the evidence and the frame of the time, you have to look at the context too, right? So like, I guess a good example of this would be like, say like your great grandpa or whatever grew up during a time where, you know, if you saw a woman, you could say like, you know, hey, how you doing today, honey? Or what's up, hun? Or oh, you're looking gorgeous today, or something like that. And it's like, fast forward today, if you said those same things, you're basically like sexually harassing somebody and or demeaning them in some way, right?
Yeah.
But but the intent, the context and the intent at that time was not the same as it is today. It'd be like if today you had an earring, and I'm not justifying like truly bad things, like actual hurtful, tangible hurtful things. I'm saying that even back then it wasn't considered a hurtful thing by the party receiving the compliment either, right?
Yeah.
But today it's different. The context has changed. Things have changed because of events and stuff that have happened. It'd be the same as, let's say you get your ears pierced, right? As a man. Mm-hmm. Let's say you get your ears pierced as a man. There was a time, 50 years ago, where if you got your ears pierced as a man, they would just assume that you were homosexual, right? And they would like frown down on it or something. Now we're in a day and age where it's like, it is a fashion statement. I even have a pierced ear myself. I don't really put anything anymore because I got infected and hurt, but I got a pierced ear myself because I thought it was cool, right? Yeah. What happens in another 20 years if it turns out that they've decided to link ear piercing like with serial killers, or there was this whole serial killer gang that ran around with ear piercings and they called themselves the ear piercing gang and they killed a bunch of people, and something happens and then I pull those earrings out, but people keep taking videos of me back in 20 years ago when I had earrings and they're talking about my earrings. Yeah. If people take that out of context and they're in the frame of mind of they're young and in their generation, that is a terrible, terrible, terrible thing, right?
Yeah.
But at the time you were doing it, it was just a fashion statement. So you end up in this situation where it's like, you have to you can't throw the context out. You have to have the context in line with what happened and when it happened. And that's really hard to do because a lot of things that we view today that happened back then are really terrible things.
Yeah.
But you have to realize that those people were basically raised and told and educated that that's how it was at that point in time. So from their frame of reference, what was their intent? And I think that's what really needs to be taken into account when we look at stuff like that. And we look into the past is, what was the intention, right?
Right.
That's why I don't look at words. Like when people talk to me, I don't look at words. I look at the context, right? Are you intentionally being inflammatory? Are you trying to be abusive? Or are you actually trying to teach? Or are you trying to give like a legitimate example to something? Right. That's what I look at, not the words themselves.
Yeah.
And you have to apply that same lens to stuff that's old. Mm-hmm. Like if it's somebody like you said exactly. It's like if you were a kid and you did something like pissed on an electric fence. I did that when I was a kid, right? Yeah. And shocked the hell out of me, knocked me on the ground, pissed all over myself, pissed all over this dude's porch because where the little transformer was. My cousin's rolling over laughing on the ground because he basically got me to zap my Peter off. And the guy comes outside and he laughs because he thinks it's funny, or he's knock it off, kids, quit pissing on my fence or whatever. And it was funny. Like I was a kid and I was probably like 8 years old, and we all had a good laugh and it was funny. But like today, if that like came out, it's like, oh yeah, Barnacules, he pissed on a fence when he was 8 years old because he's so fucking dumb. Like, only look how much of an idiot he is because he pissed on a fence. It's like, dude, I was 8 years old.
Yeah.
That was like back when there was I didn't have internet. I wasn't in playing Rocket League. It's like, that's what we did back then. We chucked cow patties at each other and pissed on fences. Like, you don't do that anymore, but back then that was a good time. But you have to take context. You really have to take context. Yeah. Otherwise, you're just going to haunt somebody forever with shit. And it could be stuff they learned from.
You can't hold that stuff over people forever. Like it's one thing to say, hey, man, what you did in the past is bad. But also, like, are they still doing that?
Yeah.
Like that's and it's important, I think, too, to like for the people who and it happens, you see this stuff, but the apology videos or whatnot. And it's like, I don't know. Some of them are just better than others, I guess. Cause it's like, it comes back around to like that repetition. Like, okay, yes, that tweet from 2012. Yeah. It was funny then, but I get it. Yeah. I see where that was uncool. And you can clearly see that, like, I haven't done that sort of thing since, like, a lot has happened between now and then, and like I'm clearly not that person anymore. That guy is a dick. I am not that guy anymore. And that's important. And I feel like that gets lost a lot of the time.
What if you changed, and what if that mistake that you made changed your whole life for the better? And you used it to help other people and to help them dodge that mistake. So honestly, if you learn a mistake, you become an educator about how to avoid that, right? That's a natural thing. That's how humans advance. We teach each other. So, but if you're never allowed to learn from that mistake and teach other people how to avoid it, and you are just defining your entire life as the mistake and not the outcome of the mistake, like later on, what incentive do you have to be better? Like a great example is my dad. Me and my dad don't have a good relationship. We never really have. He was bad alcoholic and used to like lay into me and beat me and shit over stupid stuff. And he was just a terrible all around alcoholic dude. But there was one thing that my mom did to him that drove me absolutely nuts, because I think it contributed to him never really becoming a better person. He is now. Now, after she passed, he went through a lot of shit, found his Jesus or whatever. And he does better now, right? Yeah. He's down in California. He does better. But he was a real wild child and angry person with a lot of pent up aggression and shit. But my mom didn't help things, because my mom would hold every bad thing that he ever did, no matter how long ago it was. If he ever made a mistake, even if it was unrelated, she would bring up the entire past again.
And see, that's not cool.
And she'd do it every single time. And I just watched my dad. He knew that there was no way he could ever apologize. He could never escape it. He could never grow beyond it. So my dad made the executive decision. He didn't say it, but you could tell he made the executive decision that if I'm just going to be judged for the rest of my life of being an asshole and a failure and everything, I'm just going to be an asshole and a failure.
Yeah.
Because there's no reason for me to be a better person, because no matter what, if I make a mistake, I don't paint something right, I don't put the spark plug in right, or I don't like pick up the dog shit outside or whatever, then you're just going to make me relive every bad thing I did 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And my mom did that to him a lot. And it's like, so and I even talked to my mom about it, like long before she passed away. I was like, you got to lay off, because, you keep bringing this shit up and rehashing it over and over and over again. So how can you expect him to be better? And how can you expect him to grow when you're just going to weaponize that for the rest of his life?
Yeah.
Or the rest of your life. And so she did get better towards the end, where she wasn't doing it as often. But I remember that it was so bad, because my dad, he'd come in and be like, he'd have like too many drinks, right? He'd have too many drinks. He'd come in the house and he'd be a little buzzed. He's not being violent or anything. He'd just come sit at the table. And, my mom would walk over to him and go, oh, did you do that thing outside? Did you water the garden or something? And he's like, no, I'll do it tomorrow. I'm really tired. Or whatever. Oh, did you drink a little too much? Did you have too many to drink? No, I'll do it tomorrow. It'll get done. Don't worry. And then she'd be like, you're just a fuck up. You're just a fuck up, and you can't, even though he's been like supporting us and he's going to do his job, he makes one mistake, doesn't want to, you're just a fuck up or whatever. And then he'd just ignore her, because he'd just be like, okay, I'm done. And then next thing you know, it devolved to, you cheated on me 20 years ago and you weren't trustworthy then, and you're not trustworthy now. It's like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I get it. Cool. Dad made like a big mistake, and you should beat him over the head for that, but not 20 years later.
Yeah.
When he's turned things around, if you keep beating him over the head with that, you know what he's going to do? He's going to go out and cheat on you again and again and again, because he's already paying the price for it. He's already getting punished. It's like, you have to give some credit where it's due when people get better.
Yeah.
You do. Because otherwise they're not going to have any incentive to get better. You know what I mean? Mark Y said, the thing is, Barnacules, is he just found God genuinely, not another person's social God construct, but he found a better God piece, whatever it is for him. And that is as valid or as real as it gets. Yeah. I mean, I don't mean God. Like, I don't believe that there's an actual God. You guys all know I'm an atheist. I'm just saying he found whatever his relationship was to make him feel better. I mean, his internal construct that he talks to or whatever. It helped him. So, and it's the group of people. I'm not talking about like he found like a social deity. I mean, he like went to church and people were nice to him and he did nice things and he got rewarded for it. And that made him feel good. So, we have a couple super chats here and then we'll go ahead and wrap up since we're over the time. Gumug, my man, Gumug, Joe Jack. Thank you for that $10 super chat earlier, man. That's a pretty cool emoji you got there. Tastes like tofu. Thank you for the $5. He said OnlyFans updated their TOS last night and stated that you can post nudes are allowed, just no intercourse. They talk about genital exposure, but that is up in the air. So they're still trying to figure out the genital exposure apparently, but just no intercourse. But again, like what is intercourse? Does skin have to actually touch, or if there's a barrier between the skin, is that actually touching? Like, I don't know. There's some rules here that need to be, they need to be very clear on this, especially since the people that are making content for the site, if they don't know what they can post, it's literally just going to be blindly throwing shit at the wall and seeing what gets deleted and then ultimately getting it banned. Yeah. And that's never good. That's how I feel like with YouTube right now. Like YouTube used to feel like I knew exactly what I could post and what I couldn't post. Now it's so dynamic and so on a person by person basis and based on what bot network reports you and how it reports you, that it's like you really don't know. Everything you upload, no matter the most innocent video in the world, could get instantly demonetized and taken down. The shittiest video you could ever make could blow up and be just fine.
Yeah.
And it's very annoying. And final super chat. Sorry, we got two more. Barry Burleson, thank you for the $10 ruse.
Thank you very much. Yeah, man.
And Jeremy Redfern, thank you for the $5. Said off topic. Well, we're always off topic here, brother. He said, but wanted you to know that you're the reason I continued my coding career. And I thank you, dude. I love hearing that.
Yeah,
I love hearing that. Even after all these years of doing the Codegasm series, I get so many people that message me at least a couple a week now that I get random emails from and Patreon DMs and stuff that are like, dude, like your Codegasm series got me programming. And now I've got like, a BA, a bachelor associates in computer science, and I'm working for like Amazon, or working for Google. And it's, I love hearing it, guys. Like by all means, keep it coming, because that's one of the things that keeps me going, is knowing that I put people on a good path to do some cool shit, because, I made my decision as far as where I want to go with all this, and it's not becoming a super big multi-millionaire mover and shaker. Not to say that I don't want this joint venture with Tech Talk to be like successful. I definitely do.
Yeah.
But my goals are not financially driven anymore. I've kind of abandoned that. As long as I can make enough money to support my family, my goals are to speak the truth, not get tied down, not sign a bunch of contracts, and not let other people control what I can say and what I can do, because I feel like there's too few people online that can just say whatever they want. I think that that's an incredibly amazing gift to have, to not be tied down by companies, not to be tied down by contract, not be tied down by legality. I can just speak my mind, and that's honestly not going to grow you really fast. That's not going to inspire companies like YouTube to promote your stuff and companies to promote your stuff and everything. But I do think that there's a huge intrinsic value to doing it. Like I think that there's other value beyond money, and who knows, maybe later on, it'll lead to enough support at some point that I can just keep doing this forever, but we'll see, but that's what I'm betting on. I'm going like usual. I'm going the other direction. So Ox, when are you going to be streaming next over on the Twitch, buddy?
Oh man, I don't know. I do have some computer work I need to do, soon. So, probably next week sometime. Yeah.
Okay, cool, man. Yeah. So you guys know where to find his links. They're all in the video description. David couldn't join us today. I think he's on vacation up at some lodge somewhere up in the Canadian, being a slacker. But you can find all of his information always in the video description also. And I stream over on Twitch Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at noon p.m. Pacific time. A little bit of a different show than this. And if you guys ever have any questions while we're offline between shows, come over and tweet us over on the old Twitters at Barnacules and at AuxxZillary. All that information also in the video description. And we will catch you guys next week. I'm going to go get ready to go outside because I have a hot tub being delivered today. I'm pretty excited about that.
Right on.
So, all right, brother. I will see you next week.
Bye.
Peace out, guys. Thank you again for all the support. We really do appreciate it. Let's see. And I think we are